And welcome, everyone. We are back. Been an interesting month, but enough on that. We are here to talk about the one, the only Mr. Mitch Rapp. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good, mate. Good. Quick sponsorship. Each episode is brought to you this week or every week by Lid Hosting, who have now teamed up with another server provider to extend their range of servers even further. I had a message sent to me. I wasn't aware of this, mate, but they're the mob who provide the creator server that we have in the creator club that you're in. And let me just find it. It was from where is it? I knew that he was looking at doing it, but yeah, it was great to see that it's actually finally happened. They've teamed up with Vykix, Vykix. Unfortunately, the post I was sent is in French, and no one wants to hear me talk French. Oui, baguette, menage a trois. But after lengthy discussions, we are pleased to announce that Lid Hosting will become Vykix France on the 25th of May. Like Lid Hosting, Vykix specializes in hosting gaming services. So I'll touch base with my mate Drow and find out more about what that's going to mean for everyone. But I'm excited. It means he was doing something right, mate. But enough of the shilling for the host. Buddy, been a long time in planning.
It is.
We finally got here, though. Even with your emergency power supply issues, tell everyone what you've got rigged up, mate.
I've got a nice EcoFlow battery bank powering my computer, and actually one power in the computer, one power in the house. So Helene hit us a few months back, and we are still feeling the effects. We can't find people to do work because they're all busy from that. So it's been
and this is all still fallout from Cyclone or Hurricane Helena.
yeah, actual real world surviving. So as much as I'd love to be in the digital space right now, I've been pulled away for a bit. So glad to be able to make it here, though.
Mate, you gave me a bit of a breakdown on your background, and I've known obviously for some time that you're a veteran like myself. Looks like it's Zulu Hour. Yes, it is Zulu Hour. For those who don't know, that's usually military timing for when an action or an operation starts, an assault or something like that. So it's a pretty cool little analogy you've got in using that one, mate. But let me just quickly go back to Discord. I'll read out your bio again. I did like this. Bio for Mr. Mitch Rapp reporting live from the Zulu Hotel, Operation Zulu Hour. Was just a kid in my home room watching the towers fall on 9/11. I'm going to stop right there, bro. For those of us who were alive when that happened, yes, you can argue about the wars afterwards and the misinformation, the lies and all the rest of it that was told about weapons of mass destruction and Osama bin Laden, where he was, all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. Everyone who talks about that, I've didn't see it happen or chooses to forget what they witnessed. Because I know exactly where I was, mate. I was out doing security work. I'd just gotten out of the army, medically discharged, so there was no hope of me being able to sign back up on the dotted line to go, and I would have in a heartbeat. And the missus called me. I was doing nighttime patrols because it was in the evening here, I think about 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish. Get Boydie going on the melting points of steel thieves. There's actually a video that talks about that, but we might come to that later.
Hopefully, this is going to turn
just quickly. It's not about melting point; it's about structural integrity, and heat weakens metal. So when you've got thousands of tons of concrete and all the rest of it, but she called me and said, you need to turn on the TV. You need to find a TV somewhere. And I was at a Backpackers doing the lockup of the kitchen area there, Backpackers Hotel in Townsville. And I went down to the living room where all the backpackers were, and they were watching The Sopranos. And I said, guys, you might want to change the TV. We had a late night news channel, Channel 10. Sandra Sully, I think, was the reporter. And, she was covering it, breaking news. There's been some sort of an explosion or something, those early hours when they just weren't sure what the fuck had happened. And I can't imagine watching that as a kid, mate. As a grown-up, I was 27, 28 years old, I think, at that time. But as a kid, bruh, what was that like for you?
I think like the best way I can compare it to today, for obviously a lot of people who weren't alive, is that just kind of how desensitized we get just watching video games, right? So we'll be like, oh, what a cool clip. And, something that would, if it were to happen in front of you in real life, a lot of people might second guess them, like, what am I seeing? Or think they would act one way, but act a different way. So I think at the time I was just kind of like, what the heck is happening? And not really knowing what was going to be next. I mean, I understood. I was old enough. I was in high school, so I was old enough to understand, probably going to go to war. But what that actually meant for me, I mean, the rest of the bio kind of gets into it. But
whereabouts in America were you when that happened?
I was in Virginia, actually, at the time. So there was a lot going on. Like the DC sniper was happening. Like all the stuff was going on.
Popo Medic just dropped a video on the DC sniper as well. If you follow his channel,
really?
That's a very, very I don't want to use the term underrated, but it's not as well known as it should be. Because I remember that one. That was terrifying. I
mean, we were close enough to where we were getting escorted from our school. Every school bus was getting police escort. So,
and it was all about he just wanted to murder his wife, and he was trying to cover it with random deaths. What a fucking psycho!
Yeah,
bruh. Oh, I think we're demonetized on this episode, which means we can just let ourselves go now, mate. Okay, so all the cinematic propaganda my young adolescent, highly malleable and easy influenced mind had consumed up to that point really didn't even give me a chance for any other archetype other than to go on to serve my country, as both my parents had and their parents before that in World War II. Oddly enough, movies like 300, this is DayZ. I had to modify it. And Forrest Gump's Lieutenant Dan gave me peace of mind that to go out in a blaze of glory for my brothers in arms or protecting my family back home was the best thing I could do for my country. Yep, that's me, getting ready to do something stupid. Former narrow-minded and self-centered military working dog handler. I want to come back to that, bro, because that's like a fucking dream job. Fighting, surviving out of the 8th or the 8th 20th Combat Operations Squadron, Moody AFBGA turned. What's AFBGA?
Moody Air Force Base, Georgia.
Yep. See, I wasn't sure. It was a capital M, and I was like, is that a place, or is he talking about himself being Moody? And if he's Moody, what's an AFB?
For sure.
Armed Forces bastard. I don't know. Private military contractor, working dog handler out of BESF. What's that?
Baghdad Embassy Security Forces. So they just call it BESF.
In Iraq, where I met my wife and lovingly was guided into being a family man, all in the blink of a decade. Whether we want to admit it or not, it's all connected. So, in an attempt to help to be part of the change I want to see, it is our goal to help assist the gaming sphere into an experienced one, as it pertains to DayZ and ARMA Reforger. Bro, ARMA Reforger is just ticking all the boxes with everyone right now, but we'll come back and we'll probably talk about that more.
Yes.
Okay, so then we've got a bunch of talking points, but I just wanted to find out a little bit more about your story before we go into talking random shit, as I always like to do. So, how many years did you do in the armed forces?
I did just a little over 6 for the DoD, Department of Defense, and then I went on to work for the Department of State, and both was a dog handler in first I was security forces, so just like a police officer, I guess you could call it. And then I put my package in to go to K9 school, got accepted, went to K9 school, got my new orders to Moody, and then that's when I got.
So what sort of dog was it? Explosives, or was it a police dog, or?
So in the Air Force, actually in all the DoD,
actually, I don't like even saying the term dog. What was the dog's name?
I had a lot of dogs, but Taya. I had a dog named Taya. That was my.
That's the one in the photo that we used in the thumbnail.
Yep. That's her.
Taya. So, man, dogs are the best people.
Yeah, I think the older I got, the more I started to realize that I didn't like people as much as I thought I did. So dogs quickly became my go-to, therapy, escape, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it was a really cool job. I can't talk enough on it. I mean, even if, everything has bad elements, but just getting to work with a dog, watch the dog work, problem solve, like literally you're watching something that you can't even talk to. But there's things called like just noticeable differences. So you're watching.
You can't talk verbally, but there is communication. There is communication with dogs. With a lot of animals. Oh yeah, even my pet bird I had, Seppi, God bless him. He communicated with me in his own unique little way. He would laugh at me when I've got a really bad smoke alarm placement in the house, and every time I would cook inside, I would set off the smoke alarm, and he would just start laughing outside. The missus thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever. Every time I would start cooking, he got to the point where I would start getting the pots and pans out to cook, and the bird would just start laughing, and then she would start laughing. And he was an asshole, but he had his own personality. He just couldn't talk. He could say a couple of words, like a few birds, but yeah, you might not be able to talk and have a conversation with him, but there is still communication, isn't there?
But you know how you get there though? Is by not being distracted and by paying attention and, looking at all those little things, and that takes time. I mean, a lot of people just don't want to, or don't know how to invest the time in that kind of thing, which is sad. Hopefully we can kind of find some, but.
Now, just a quick one for chat. I've got 8 game codes courtesy of my Humble Bundle subscription that I do. $17 Australian. So that'd be about $10 freedom dollars. And you get 8 free games to give away or redeem yourself. I'm not going to say what game it is. First in, best dressed. I sometimes do them in my Discord, but this time I thought as a celebration of the show being back, we would give them away live to the awesome people who are in here watching live. So let me just bring up the first code when I work out what I'm doing, because I'm a boomer. We'll start with a good one. This one is a a Steam redeem, and bang, there it goes. First in, best dressed. The game is
That was a
Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
Ooh,
not a bad game.
Oh,
valued at $29.50. Okay. So what year did you enlist?
I depped in 08, and then it was shortly after, I think, the end of the year, maybe the April is when I left. So actually April of 09 is when I left for basic.
And what made you want to get out?
Greed. It was money. I'm not gonna lie. I had buddies who had already gotten out and were contracting.
You capitalist whore, you.
You're not even lying. So, and then also, like, movies had come out, so I was like still chasing that. What I thought was how I was supposed to go. You know what I mean? Like in a blaze of glory. So I was chasing after that. But all the movies that Benghazi and the contractor life, so to speak, that's what I was chasing after, the real life thing. So to kind of see it come to fruition in game life.
That's a good movie as well, by the way. 13 Hours. If you haven't seen it, it is absolutely terrible what happened. I don't want to go into the politics of it, but absolutely terrible that they put those people so insanely badly located. They literally had no one able to support them, bar a small CIA office in the same city as them. And yeah, just absolutely terrible. And the way that ambassador and a couple of the guys died in that fire is just so sad. So sad. Very, very poignant movie. Says it's not a valid code. So I'd say someone's already redeemed it, mate. I'm going to guess Paddy got it. Buddha, I'm too stoned to try. I love my chat, mate. I do. They're fucking awesome. Just so based. So yeah, mate, look, I don't blame you. I know I tried to sign up for some contractor work as well when I was young. And again, it was for that reason, money. There was a lot of crazy sums of money, a lot of dodgy shit happening with some of those agencies as well. But bro, there was fucking money just being shelled out left, right, and centre.
Mhm.
With a lot of those private contractors, and some of them were pretty much just out and out mercenaries, but the majority of them were fairly reputable. But there definitely was some that weren't very reputable. Even a guy I know was involved in. He went to court for some underhanded deals that were being done, and got a massive fine, I think, for some of the backroom deals that were being done in the organisation of that sort of stuff. Yeah, you're shaking your head. You probably know all about it.
I'm gonna we'll touch on some of that, like some of the stuff that I saw when I was in Iraq that kind of made me have some of my perspective changes in life aside from becoming a dad. But yeah, you start seeing some stuff in the world, seeing how the world really is, and it's like, oh, okay, it's not just like how it is on social media or whatever. I think people sometimes have a hard time, like man, I'm gonna have a hard time saying that one, but separating reality and
yes,
what they see online. But we'll talk about like the technology too, like how scientists 20 years ago were like, oh, we got to get rid of the violent video games. And
cognitive dissonance, is that what you were trying to say?
Cognitive
dissonance.
No, I can never pronounce this one, but like where you tuck it away, put it deep down inside and don't ever touch it again, or you just separate. It's gonna
Mate, I'll go back. I think the old Platoon line, I think it is, don't mean nothing, not a thing.
The harder English becomes for me. So there's also
what was your experience like when you were in the forces overseas? How many deployments did you do whilst you were in the army? Or what branch were you in? Was it Air Force?
I was in the Air Force, yeah. So when I
Air
first
Force?
went, yeah. So here's my story about that. So both my parents were in the Marine Corps, mom and dad, and so when it came time for me to enlist myself, I needed permission because I wasn't old enough yet. So we went to the Marine Corps recruiter, and again, I'm a big movie.
You signed up at 17.
Well, I went in there right before I turned 17, so I was still 16. And my mom, who's a retired master gunnery sergeant, went in there with me, and the guy's like, the recruiter's like, well, all right, son, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a sniper, and I know I got to be like 0311 infantry. So, and his eyes just like lit up, and he started salivating. He's like, oh yeah, I think we can definitely work you in, and da. And so my mom goes, well, don't you think you should explain some of the other MOSs that the Marine Corps has to offer? And he's like, ma'am, your son's a big boy. He can make decisions for himself. And
I think your mum's fight factor just really hackled up at that moment. Don't you be disrespecting me, brother.
She says, go step outside. And so I stepped outside. When I come back in, he's like, so your mom and I talked, and we should definitely talk about some of these other jobs. So long story short.
We'll do a beat a fly on the wall. Was she still in then?
No. She had been out for a while, but okay. She also had like her own little thing in the Marine Corps where, they were promoting women like in the late 90s. They were doing a lot of like, hey, we need more women in. So, she kind of had like a little campaign where she did some stuff with that. But so I'll just say like she was probably known by enough Marines too. And then also people rank drop all the time. It's just something that they do. So you say master gunnery sergeant, people are like, oh shit, okay, what? But in the United States, I don't know how they over by you, but like when you have your recruiter stations, it's just like a chain of them. So you just walk to the next door. But I did go to the Air Force one day.
We just have one for all branches of the military, defense recruiting.
No, they got every single. But was it? Wait, so how many different branches do you guys have?
Three. Okay. Army, Navy, Air Force.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just have like all four, because Coast Guard doesn't count. But then they'll just all be in a line next to each other, so all the recruiters get to know each other. They'll like talk shit and whatever. But I did go right next there to the Air Force recruiter, and I knew I wanted to do something cool, right? Like all these movies I've been seeing, consuming as an adolescent. I was like, I want to do kicking indoors kind of shit. And so initially I was going to go in for TACP, which is the Tactical Air Control Party. And when I DQ'd because I have the world's shittiest vision, I had to pick a lesser job.
Go back. DQ'd?
I got disqualified. Yeah, I got disqualified. Yep. So I couldn't even go for that job. But I said, well, what else do you got that's like that? And he popped in a VHS, and it showed like dudes, fast roping out of helicopters and, doing all this fucking cool guy shit. And I was like, yes, please, let me do that. So not much longer after that, I was stuck in a PRP base, which is just like nuclear security, for 2.5 years. And it was, the area was great, but the mission sucked. Like, it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do all the cool guy shit. So I finally got my canine orders, and then I got to go to where actually that VHS was recorded at, which was Moody Air Force Base, which is like the the Air Force Infantry, I guess. You get a bunch of different stuff. That's why they call it the Hate 20th, because
I want to ask you something here, because it's something that like it popped into my brain just then when you said that. Yeah, you got stuck in basically doing nuclear missile security, and you just wanted to do all the cool shit. I've always wondered what the motivation is. Like, I know that everyone's different, and that's what makes us all wonderful and all the rest of it. But I don't understand people who join the Defence Force to become something like a pay clerk or a blanket folder in ordnance. Yeah, I know all of those jobs are vital to keep the military machine rolling, but I've never understood that. Yeah, even just to drive trucks around. Yeah, you can do that on Civvy Street, and you probably earn more and be treated a bit better as well. Not treated just like another cog in the machine. But yeah, it's odd to me that people, that's their goal, to join and do these weird ass jobs that could almost be done by civilians.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people want to serve, but maybe they know they're automatically going to be disqualified from stuff. I mean, I will say this: the one thing I took away from Band of Brothers was the guy, the little orderly, the guy who literally like does all the paperwork and makes coffee. Because in 2014, not trying to like product drop or whatever, but
Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan? Saving Private Ryan's the typist guy.
Not him. No, I think it's Band of Brothers. It's when like the Tom Hanks' son is one of the officers, and like
yep.
That follows them around. But I learned that right away that there's actually really good. I don't know if you're a coffee guy, but like there's good coffee and there's bad coffee. And so the older I get, again, I've taken more notice of like when people are really passionate about what they do.
You're talking about Black Hawk Down. You're talking about Black Hawk Down. You're talking about what's his name? Ewan McGregor's character. Grind. Yeah. It's all in the grind. It's all in the grind. And okay. I've got my big mug next to me, mate. My Survivor FM. You can buy them in the store. I love this mug, and I have a coffee machine which grinds and brews and everything here, and I cannot start the day without coffee. I am a coffee man.
Do you do pour over? Do you do a French press? Do you just like do a old school pot?
Nope. It's fresh brewed every mug. Grind and then stick it in, and it's just the full extraction method. It's a Breville Barista Express. And it's a beautiful unit, absolutely beautiful. Costs about 700 Australian dollars, so that's about 400 freedom dollars, but worth every fucking cent. Like we're on to our second one. I bought the first one probably about 6 years ago for the missus for Mother's Day, and she loves it. She knows how to use it, but she doesn't like to use it because that's my job. I am the trophy husband. It is my job to make the coffees. So even this morning, I've been a bit under the weather. And I just completely didn't realize the time. And she came out doing her morning routine to get ready for work. She goes, "You haven't made the coffee yet?" And I'm, oh, fuck, sorry, Dale. Straight inside, made the coffees and that. But yeah, I love it. I love making coffee. It's just the best. You turn into a bit of a coffee snob, though, don't you? When you go to a coffee shop and you get a bad one where they burn the bean or overheat the milk. And
I'm going to tell you how much of a coffee snob I is. I have a little cardboard box with my coffees and my French press, or like I'll bring a pour over. And I usually have like a hot plate and, like.
Is that what's on the table in front of you? Different beans?
Yeah, I have two different little beans here by Black Rifle, my favorite coffee company. So, but that's where we were at. 2014, I was in the Jordan-Syrian border, and like, Obama was just doing, what do you call it? Like sending sorties and like airstrikes at the time. So we weren't really like boots on the ground anywhere, and we weren't even supposed to be known where we were. But I was always watching these movies again of like the contractor life. So I was literally just trying to chase that. Like there was the money side, the greed side. But then I just was looking for the action, because when I was in the Air Force, the Chair Force, that unless you're in some kind of like cool, really like special forces jobs that is assigned or attached to, an Army unit or something like that, you're really not, like, that's not what it's about. So, I learned right away that I was like, okay, if I want to have another chance at doing this, because I'm starting to get older, I just need to go look elsewhere. And so contracting was kind of like, the next thing I thought that would get me that. So, but 2014, that's when ISIS was pushing in. Like I said, I had a buddy that had just gotten out, and he was in Iraq at Baghdad when they were sending everybody out, and it was just like, you know, the last little crews that were left there, and the Marine Embassy guys. But I was like, I just missed that. You know, I got out there right after that happened, so constantly chasing that, and then that brings me back to video games. I mean, movies, video games growing up. Counter-Strike, Half-Life, like, you know, Day of Defeat, all these classic games that
what was the first game that really, you know, like, you probably played all the Call of Duties like the rest of us, and Medal of Honors back in the day when it was good, and yep. But what was the first game? Like, I know what mine is, and people who watch the show will know what I'm gonna say, but I want to know, what was the first game for you that you were like, holy shit, these games are getting very realistic?
So Operation Flashpoint. I mean, it's again come full circle, but Operation Flashpoint, and then to find out later in life that, like, because I got really into PUBG for a while, and it scratched the itch that I was looking for, which was, you know, team-based combat stuff. But once I found DayZ, it was like game over. So, but yeah, Operation Flashpoint, Cold War Crisis, 2001, and that's when I first kind of realized, oh wow, okay, this is pretty immersive. Like, there's a potential here. And I think a lot of gaming companies were chasing that for a long time, but it's just now. I mean, look where we are. That was 2001 into 2025. I mean, it took a while. So I'm glad it's here, though.
Game number 2 is up in chat, folks. It is worth $63.41. It is called the Thaumaturge Deluxe Edition. I don't even know. Think deeper into the world of the Thaumaturge with exciting additional features. The digital deluxe edition of the game includes the Thaumaturge base game, alternative HUD design, in-game cosmetics pack, digital art book, an original soundtrack, a model of a 3D printable figurine, a gallery of atmospheric wallpapers, a digital map of Warsaw, showcasing selected game features. If you get the game, let us know in chat. Just tell us if you got it. Yeah, I'd like to know who got the game. So, you know, yeah, it's got an 82% rating, very positive on Steam, folks. So good luck whoever gets that game. Actually looks quite pretty. I didn't even really look at it. But yeah, the Operation Flashpoint was for me as well, mate. Yeah, it was literally, I had to change the way I played games. You know, the normal shooter before was just run and gun, run and gun, run and gun. Okay, maybe not so much run, maybe a bit more gun, or maybe a bit more run and not so much gun. And then all of a sudden it was bang, you're dead. What?
Yeah.
That was one shot. No game kills you in one shot. What? What again? Hang about.
That's what I was chasing after. So, like, what was that?
Yeah, I didn't know it. I didn't know I was chasing that.
Yeah,
it scratched that itch.
Yeah, but those old games though, like, that was what you were used to, because you don't know what you don't know. So, like, you're mag dumping, you know, 2-3 mags into a character, trying to put them down. But it was Team Fortress Classic. Like, the sniper class was able to put them down to like 1 or 2. But yeah, everything else was just like, you know, silly arcadey type games. But Operation Flashpoint just right away broke the mold, and put itself out there, for at least for me, and what I was chasing. Because you can even, like, in 2001, you could still, like, edit your own missions and stuff like that. That was like, I'd never seen that before.
Oh, it was mind blowing for me.
I mean, I would
absolutely brilliant game.
Entire weekends, like, mission planning, you know what I mean, as a teenager, and coming up with these own little fake missions. And so it's kind of funny now that I'm, you know, getting older, and I'm doing the same thing. But I don't know about you, like, but playing Grand Theft Auto, like the first one, you know, before the internet was like really huge, I would be talking to my buddy and be like, "Dude, wouldn't this be crazy if we can, like, play at our own houses, like, online?" And then it wasn't even like 5-10 years later that it manifested, and you know, GTA Online came out. So it's pretty cool to watch just the evolution of gaming, and, you know, where we started from with, I mean, I wasn't alive for Pong, but, you know what I mean, to watch it go from that to where we are now is just mind blowing. Leaves me speechless sometimes.
We're sort of into your first talking point, mate, about the way technology is moving at a pace that most of us have a hard time keeping up with, and it is very much an adapt or get memory hold type of situation. But there are those of us, those that have been around just a tad bit longer, who have begun to see the writings on the wall. Immersion has reached a level where it is starting to open the eyes of those that are truly invested in the craft, opening up a new world of possibilities, a world where AAA studios once reigned king, and now the community is making the changes they want to see. So it's a very broad topic, that one. But you mentioned before about how some people struggle to separate, online from reality. Paddy said something similar in chat as well, and it's just getting scarier, mate. Like I watch Asmongold videos on YouTube, and he shared a couple about where they're at with AI now. And it's fucking scary. And that tech's going to cross over to gaming very, very soon. Like,
well, if we want to just get right into the first conspiracy thing, there's a patent somewhere for, I don't know if it was for the Xbox. What was that little thing that would sit on your TV stand and look? It was a camera.
Yeah, it's the kinetic.
That, so that one of those things had the ability to like read your emotions. Like, it was early tech for reading your emotions. So now every single person almost has some kind of Android or Apple product which has a front facing camera. And look at where we're at right now with social media. Like, it's just 15-30 second clips of nothing just to get elicit a reaction. So me personally, I think maybe that kind of trickled over, maybe, who knows, but that's why I'm trying to create this, for me, and then help it spread if I can, but where people just kind of take a breath and respond instead of reacting, because we have been conditioned to everything. You know what I mean?
We believe the latest clip, and like with the AI fakes at the moment, and even when people totally read something wrong, like everyone was blowing up a while back. I remember 3 of the European Union leaders and Keir Starmer, I think, were on a train carriage, and I saw all these clips on Twitter going on about how I think it was the French president took a bag of cocaine off the table and hid it in his pocket, and I was like, "What the? Yeah, no, that doesn't seem legit to me." And then upon closer inspection, it was a fucking tissue.
Yeah.
It was a tissue, and everyone was jumping on it because they all had an ulterior motive. And so there'd be people out there who to this day would still believe that, along with so many other things out there. But you've just got to, and it's hard because certain topics, depending on you as a person, might engender a more visceral response. But you've got to, and when you do get it wrong, you've got to be prepared to put your hands up and say, "Yeah, I read that wrong. My bad. My bad." But again, a lot of people won't do that, mate. They don't have the maturity to be able to realize that we all make mistakes.
Yeah. But again, I think that stems from like reacting. Again, if you're responding, that means you're taking a second, even if it's just one, to be like, what am I doing? Oh, okay, I'm doing this. All right. And we're all human. We get upset. Most of us have emotions. If you don't, maybe go to see a doctor. But it's just taking that time to, whatever it is, take a breath, just walk away and come back and have like you said, a mature emotional response to something instead of just whipping out the first thing that comes to your mind. So,
and I've said this many a time on the show as well, mate, but just because you disagree on something doesn't mean you have to hate.
Yeah.
There are some things, the more ideological extremist sort of people that it's, okay, I probably do need to hate you because you clearly hate me. So I'm never going to change your mind. But for the most part, though, it's okay. We don't agree on that, but there's a lot more that we do agree on. So try to remember that when you're dealing with people that, you might agree violently, for want of a better word, on an issue, but that doesn't mean you need to come to violence. That was a stupid thing to say. That makes complete and utter no sense, Boydie. But you might agree. My brain's just not working this morning. Finished this last mouthful of coffee. That might help it. But yeah,
people change though too, is what they have to realize, because what we're feeling right now in the moment, is fleeting. I mean, it's real. And if you stew on it or ruminate on it for a long time, it can continue on for you. But ultimately, like I felt one way when I was in my 20s, I felt another way in my 30s, and I'm sure I'm going to feel another way, later in life, and it's going to keep changing. That's what about,
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I think it's coming up to nearly every single episode of these that I've been doing. Muhammad Ali, a man who views the world the same as he did at 20 when he is 50, has wasted 30 years of his life. And that is one of the most true statements I have ever heard. I look at myself when I was 20, mate, and I would just tell myself to wake the fuck up.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the younger kids who are playing these games, they don't have the life experience, the time that invested in themselves and, you know, their community and whatever to see that, to realize that, like, because you can't be, you know, you can't say that to yourself and then understand it until you have reached all of those milestones. Like for me, being a parent, I had lots of friends, you know, I was really involved with them and their kids and whatever, like going on trips and whatever, but I didn't understand that until I had my own kid. And that's why, you know, yes, my experience in the military, my experience contracting, whatever, have, you know, kind of changed my perspective a little bit, but ultimately bringing a kid into the world, especially in the time when we did COVID, the world kind of like seeming like it's falling around apart us. But, you know, like right now, I wouldn't want our daughter to go in the military. And that's just a personal, you know, preference of mine right now, just because I don't really like the direction that the military has gone in, and maybe it'll change, but who knows? It could very well change. But it's super easy to get stuck in the negative thought loops, like right now in the moment, instead of thinking about, okay, maybe I'll feel differently in, you know, tomorrow or in a year or in 5 years or 10 years. So
yeah, Chuckles, you've got 3 years on me, bro. I fucking was in the same boat as you. I remember those PC games like Pong and all the rest of it, Asteroids, which they did kind of have graphics, but it was more just a couple of pixels. But yeah,
gather around, right? GoldenEye 007.
Oh, bro,
proximity mines, you know what I mean?
That game was a life changer for me as well. That's another one that's well and truly up there.
That's you know, what was that, 1996, 97 that they came out?
96, 97, yeah. 97, I think, because was I still in Mortars?
I think the N64 came out in 96, I think it was 95.
It's 96, 97, because I remember playing it in the lines, and I was back in 3 Platoon then. I'd left Mortars. I think I left Mortars at the end of 96, so yeah.
Block hands, you know what I mean? Stacking the proximity mines. But I think that opened up kind of Pandora's box for a lot of, I'm not even gonna say kids, because like, you know, there's a good like 10, 15, 20 years time, year spread that kind of everybody was playing that game. So yeah, I think that got the ball rolling though. You'll see in the value.
What are you looking forward to seeing with all this AI and all the rest of it in the way of gaming? What are you looking forward to seeing?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not like a big. I'm kind of like regressing from technology a little bit. I'm putting more of my thoughts.
He says as he's got 3 computer screens, a slider bar, 2 keyboards, a microphone, a stream deck. You're really regressing from technology, bro.
I had this camera that had dust that was behind the couch because I just, you know, I don't really want to be on the screen as much. So I'm not trying to be, you know, making anything. But I'm getting older too, and maybe I don't like some of the little mannerisms that they got going on. But that's all part of the experience, though, right?
It's the horse has bolted. Sadly, we could shut the gate, but the horse is bolted. AI is out there, and for better or worse. And I agree with you. A lot of it is worse, but you've actually got me on a bit of a topic. We're seeing a lot of people now talking about how, you know, AI is taking people's jobs. Yeah. Guys and girls, we've been here before. The Industrial Revolution was the first example of it. You know, when they worked out how to do large-scale manufacturing, you know, the Ford plant, conveyor lines and all the rest of it. Not everything was made by hand. A lot of it was, you know, machine produced and all the rest of it. And this is just another iteration of it. And it kind of scares me where all this is going. But what can we do about it, mate? There's not much we can do.
Have you ever heard about DARPA?
Yes.
Okay, so that's another Pandora's box or rabbit hole that anybody can go down. But, you know, I mean, again, if their job is to be 20 years ahead of the curve and literally create the technology that the world uses, I mean, you got to think about that too. So that's why through these videos, I hope that, you know, we can spread some critical thinking. Because again, if your content is, you know, 5, 10, 15-second clips, I'm not going to say you're not getting anything from that, but it's just conditioning a generation.
Right, it's rage bait. The majority of it is what I call it rage bait. It is designed to invoke an emotion, and I get it. but I try to avoid it as much as I can
I'm
because
guilty of
it sickens me. I have unsubscribed to so many channels that 5-10 years ago I used to love listening to the likes of a Stephen Crowder. I used to watch some of his stuff. I thought he was funny. Changed my mind. It's a great meme. But then I found out more about the guy. And you start to work out their business model. And it's not just him. There's people on the opposite side of the political spectrum who are doing the same. Hassan Abi, Philip DeFranco, all these sorts of people. Even Legal Eagle has started doing it, which is kind of sad. I used to like his channel, but now he's become a political rage baiter, just trying to rather than talk about something logically, calmly, rationally, understanding both points of view, it scares me. And with all this AI stuff, it's so easy for people to just make slop and regurgitate it and even outright lie about what they're saying with these fake sound bites and all the rest of it. Like, I've seen some funny stuff. There's a AI channel my son showed me a video of on YouTube, and it's the Prime Minister of Australia, and they get him just to say really base things. And one of them was talking about the river here in Brisbane. It is a dirty, ugly, filthy fucking river, the Brisbane River. It is just mud. And they've got the Prime Minister of Australia doing this rant about how we need to just drain the fucking Brisbane River, that there's more of those electric scooters in there. There's enough rare earth minerals from all the electric scooters to power Toowoomba for the next century and all the rest of it. And it's hilarious. That's funny, but it's all this stuff's being used so maliciously, mate.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think who's your friend that does like videos that have to do with the art of war?
Vigilante. I love that guy.
Yeah,
I chat with him almost daily, even if it's just a couple of messages, because he's my my philosophical discussion person. We talk and we share stuff all the time, and but carry on.
I was just saying, I've had the book for a long time, but never actually dug into it. And then I've always known some of the principles by it, but really kind of digging into it now, you realize there's other opens up perspectives, and it just gives you a different point of view. But being able to just like your friend does, apply that to just everything. I mean, life, business, video games. But in order to do that, though, you got to be open-minded. You got to be able to use your brain and think outside the box. And I think that's why a lot of people had a hard time kind of moving from, like you said, we were conditioned one way to go, just run and gun in the early days of like Call of Duty, and the maps were tiny. And then as the technology progressed and we were able to open up these worlds essentially, and people were able to spend, 30 minutes to an hour running from one location to the other, it just opens up all these options. And so,
I'm just reading what Chuckles is writing in chat there. I know IT support techs who are this fuck. Well, did you see the thing with Grok? Going a bit unhinged, talking about white genocide in South Africa, and on topics that weren't even related to it. I saw a screenshot, again, could be edited, but someone apparently asked it about the salary of a baseball player, and it went off on a rant about white genocide in South Africa, and I was like, "What the hell, bruh?" So, and that's it. This AI is not as pure, and the people who make it, they're making it for money. Yes. So they're always going to have an ulterior motive.
I took a programming class when I wanted to start getting into modding DayZ, and taking that class kind of really opened my eyes up again to, applying some of that from the class, like to real life, like how we assign values to different things could be valuable, but like really understanding now how the guts of the game work, and how those can be, you can just essentially manipulate things to your will. But what does that have to do with gaming? Like, it's just opening up a lot of possibilities. I like to call it the DayZ onion, but that's why a lot of the interactions are never the same. And I think that's why the content is so good for DayZ and for ARMA, because it's just always something different. But with Call of Duty, it starts to feel stagnant. It starts to feel the same. Does. You get bored.
It does. Yep. And one of the sad things for me, you mentioned PUBG earlier. I really enjoyed playing PUBG in those early days. But the worst thing they ever did was turn off voice chat in the lobbies. And I know there were some people, you always had the people who were doing a full Kanye and, saying inappropriate things. But
Yeah.
work out a system to report /mute /whatever those people. Don't ruin it for the rest of us who just want to have fucking stupid shits and giggles fun.
Yeah.
Because after that, the game went from actually feeling like you were playing against other people to just it felt like you were playing bots.
Yeah. I
It
think
was so sad.
bots, right? Didn't they like? Didn't
They added bots because the player base was dying.
Yeah. Well, again, when you stop focusing on the core of the game and start going greedy for money, like all the skins and everything like that, like it stopped being about fixing the game and making it better for the players and more about how do we make more money from this, because PUBG Mobile came out, you know what I mean? And all the stuff going on with Tencent and behind the scenes and whatnot. But that game just lost me. I mean, I felt pretty passionate for a while about it. But as soon as, like I said, as soon as I found out DayZ was a thing, I didn't care anymore.
Well, Player Unknown, look, to his credit, he made the bag, and it's enabled him to, he's basically done a rocket. He started his own gaming company, but I was very sad as well with what happened with PUBG. It was such a good game, and Tencent and Bluehole it's just a terrible company, and it just became. I haven't played PUBG in, I reckon, probably maybe 2-3 years.
Me neither.
Because I just lost interest in it. And it's sad because I think back again, one of my greatest videos of all time. Have you got a boy or a girl? Girl. Maybe she'll be into gaming. But one of my favorite moments was a video that I've got to re-release it. Because I've moved all my content over to a new channel for my personal gaming stuff. But Father's Day came early, and I played a round of PUBG duos with my son, and we won. And it was just the greatest game. It was absolutely hilarious.
Right now, though, you remember your win, though? You know what I mean? Remember that feeling, the first win, your first chicken dinner?
Yep.
I can imagine having that moment with your son must be really special. So.
Bro, it is. I go back and I watch that video every now and then just to remember that moment. Sadly, he doesn't play much with me anymore. He plays with his mates, and he's 24 now, and it's kind of sad and makes me want to cry. But that's life. He's grown up and all the rest of it, and we both play different games, and he has to deal with me all day. The last thing he wants to do is sit in a voice call with me as well. But that was a magic moment.
We always have those memories, especially now in the digital world. We can go back and watch the videos, see the pictures.
Just to give a quick heads up, folks. So the reason there was a month-long delay was my wife had a double cardiac arrest. She died twice. Luckily, we were at a doctor's surgery at the right moment. In the days leading up to it, she'd had some chest pains. I thought she'd had a heart attack or something, but wifey being wifey, I wanted to call an ambulance, and she didn't want to cause a fuss, and she just said that she was sleeping and just wanted to go back to sleep, and my son to make sure we didn't end up having a fight, because no kids like watching their parents. He's like, Dad, just do as Mum says. And I was like, okay. And they kind of gaslit me into thinking I hadn't seen what I thought I saw, and then finally got her to book an appointment with a doctor, and to get a good doctor took a couple of days, and we were driving to the surgery. We got to the surgery. While we were waiting to get in the lift, I had a little very, 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 very tiny TIA again, one of those transient ischemic attack strokes, where I just felt a slight bit of paralysis coming in, and a slur, and the missus said she could see my face just do the droop. And they got me upstairs. My wife literally is in the early stages of a heart attack, and she's supporting me to get me into the waiting room. 60 seconds later, I was fine. I was fine. They took me out the back to where the nurses were, and she went to her appointment with the doctor. I'm sitting on a bed, and they've got me hooked up to all the machines and all the rest of it, doing tests, and the next thing, she comes walking in with her doctor, and her doctor looks at me and goes, "You're the husband?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "She's having a heart attack." And I was like, "Wait, what? What?" So literally, I'm in one bed, she's in the other bed across from me. They call an ambulance for her, sirens and everything. They get her to the hospital ward. They send me to another hospital. We were in separate hospitals because I've got Department of Veterans Affairs. Um, she has private health insurance as well, and they plan to send her to the same hospital as me, but they don't have as good a cardiac unit as the public hospital does. So she went up there, and I'm messaging her, and she's saying, "Yeah, I've got the Medicare card, all the rest of it." And then I hadn't heard from her for about 40 minutes, and I was starting to get a little bit worried. I know she was having a heart attack, but she's young. She's with ambulance and with the doctors. And I'm like, okay, I better go and get the Medicare card because it was in the car. I walk out of the hospital I'm in to go to my car, which was parked out the front. Yes, I drove myself to the hospital because I'm a fucking idiot. And they, while I'm in there, I think I'd give her a call and just let her know I'm sending through the photo with the Medicare card. And as I'm calling the hospital to try to tell them that I've got the Medicare card, I get a phone call from her, and I'm like, "Oh, awesome! I'll be able to tell her directly." And it's not her; it's a male. And he introduces himself as the head cardiac surgeon of the Ipswich General Hospital, and tells me that my wife has just had a cardiac arrest, and she's going into surgery. And I'm like, "You fucking kidding me?" So, long story short, she spent nearly a week in hospital, and she's better now. Still not 100%. We're still trying to work on her blood pressure and all the rest of it. But that's why I have been inactive for the last month. So for those who didn't know, now you know. And that is all that needs to be said on that. We're both better, make some massive lifestyle changes. But she said, one thing I will leave with you all, she said that dying is an interesting experience. She described it as the most peaceful sleep ever. There was no light or anything like that. It was just complete void, but it just felt so calm. So, and that's why when she was in the bed next to me, she said the same. Like I heard what I believe was a death rattle, that exhale that you do that happens when someone dies. And I was like, what the hell? Because I was rubbing her back or something because she was feeling sore. And then I heard that, and I shook her, and she woke up, and she was so out of it. She said, "I was just sleeping. I just want to go back to sleep." And that's what made me convinced now that she did have one in the bed with me, because that's what happened twice. She self-revived the first one before they could even do anything, get her hooked up and do CPR and that. She self-revived. They call it Lazarus syndrome. For those who know the Bible, Lazarus. And then she said to them, "I think I'm going to go again." And sure enough, she did. And they did the full CPR paddles and all the rest of it to bring her back. So scary fucking situation. But we're doing okay. As good as can be, mate, as good as can be expected.
Good. What an experience though, too. I mean, wild that she can recount that and tell and tell you about that.
Bro, she's fucking, oh my God. Every time, Boydie, those dishes in the sink, it's giving me chest pains.
Yeah.
She's milking it for all she's worth. I love her. We both got really dark senses of humor. And I was like, "You had to one up me, didn't you, woman?" She's like, "What do you mean?" I went, "I had my near stroke experience where I turned into a vegetable, and you're like, I could do better than that. I can fucking die."
Yeah. Yeah.
I love her. She's gold, mate. She's absolutely gold. I'd be lost without her. But she's kind of a good segue into what you were talking about. With you met your wife and she lovingly guided you into being a family man.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Were you like a bachelor, a single man, and didn't want to get tied down by no woman? And is it a love story where she broke you down? And
no, like, so we met in Iraq in Baghdad, and the best I could do at the time. She was deployed, but I was contracting, and so the best I could do at the time was get our interpreter to go get me some chicken and rice from the city, because it was really good. And
I was worried where you were going with that, mate. Then saying you met your wife and that was the best I could do. And I was like, Jesus, if she's listening to this, you're a dead man.
The best I could do for our first date was chicken and rice, but I did take her up into one of Saddam's son's palaces on the lake. So that was actually in our back in the back of our facility where we parked our vehicles was that like kind of rundown building. But so I took her up there and we ate some chicken and rice, and then we connected, and then we watched Sicario like another weekend. So but yeah, I at the time, like, I wasn't really aware of kind of my perspective of what I was dealing with, and so I was drinking a lot, and so that's what I mean by she lovingly guided me, because I was lost. Wild, dude, I was lost. Like, the drinking culture in the military is, and now that I'm out too, I mean, I see it in civilian world too, but you play hard, you go, you deploy, you come back, and you need to stay focused to be able to go again. So you kind of just start drinking and bullshitting with your buddies, and then it just becomes something
that's changed. It's changed a lot now here in Australia, the drinking culture for soldiers. I'm not sure what it's like in the US, but again, it's a video that I talk about a lot, especially with my veterans. You're not in the forces now. Google it. I want to see you open up YouTube right now, and I want to see you type, "You're not in the forces now." I'm looking at your screens. You're not doing it.
I'm going to YouTube.
You're not in the forces now.
Let's see. Is it 36K views 13 years ago? Or
how long is the video?
14 minutes.
You want the one? No, you want the one that goes for about an hour or so. Mark Brody, I think the channel is. Yep. And I want you to watch that one later, because he actually talks in there about the alcohol and tobacco usage of a lot of soldiers. Again, smoking not so much now, but back in the day, they're both drugs. People forget that. They're both drugs. They have an effect on you psychologically. And soldiers, he talks in there about what they do to you to break you down and turn you into an effective fighting machine, which is literally, they've got to remove that fight or flight and just leave you with one response: fight. And to do that, that's not a human nature. People in their human nature fight or flight for a reason. There's also freeze. Some people freeze, but that's sort of more in the flight sort of function. Your body just forgets how to flight. But for soldiers, they need to remove that. So that changes you psychologically. And that's why, back when I was in the army, mate, they used to have sporties every Thursday afternoon, and it would literally be a trailer full of piss turning up there sometimes, or cheap beers, 50-cent beers and all the rest of it. And we would just drink and get shit-faced. And this was on a working night. We had work the next day. And they would just get us shit-faced drunk, and it's all part of managing you psychologically. They've changed a bit now. They like to try and say that they're all about mental health and all the rest of it. They're not, because sadly, it's kind of impossible to have touchy-feely sensitive people who are prepared to kill other humans in the under the directions of what the government wants you to do at the time for whatever reason. It's such a hard area that a lot of people just turn to what's easily available, and that's alcohol. Some turn to more hard drugs, but alcohol is a socially acceptable to the most extent. And I was a massive binge drinker, mate. Like awesome blackout drunk.
Yeah, me too. And then, and I've read somewhere that the more times you black out drunk, the more frequently and easier it happens. So like I was drinking, like a shot or two at one point, and I was just blacking out. So I also got the gout. So, I had to do some lifestyle changes as well, because I can't be a dad, crutching around and trying to do dad stuff. So had to stop drinking.
I don't miss it. You?
No, not really.
Like,
I'm what I do miss,
even when I went to, sorry, you go.
I do miss the camaraderie. Like, you know what I mean? I miss getting shit faced with my friends. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
I don't miss the hangovers. I don't miss the gout. I don't miss, not remembering. Because, even when I got married to my wife, she says, hey, please don't drink that much. I want you to remember this. And that kind of opened my eyes up to like, holy shit, like how many times have I just been shit-faced drunk and don't remember anything? A lot.
Oh, was she talking about the wedding night, was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it was
I'm very, very selective who I drink with now. Like even when I went to Prague, you know, and some of you may have heard this before. I think I had maybe 3 or 4 beers the entire time I was there. I just don't drink because when I drink, I like to get shit-faced drunk and I turn into a bit of a dick. I like to think I'm funny, but any inhibitions I have go out the window. I turn into a cunt. I turn into an absolute.
Did that start in the military for you?
Oh yeah. I'd only been drunk once as a teenager because I was, you know,
military, it boils over into real life, and then there's those very select few people who
always trying to one up each other as well. Yes. One guy will do something, and you're like, "That's nothing, mate. Watch this. I'll do this."
My buddy
used to just get worse and worse.
15, 20 miles back from the bar, and then sit up on the top of the little billboard signs. Like that was his thing, and we wouldn't see him sometimes for a while, but. It gets unsafe at some point. One time he was in an, I don't know how he got in here, but it was in an unrestricted area with a bicycle, and he was trying to take the bicycle out of the restricted area. Or sorry, he was in a restricted area and trying to take a bicycle out of a restricted area. And I'm like, dude, you got to leave the bicycle and get out of there. We're going to get in trouble. Like the stories are fun. You know, I miss the stories to reflect on. I can't be doing that now. You know,
no.
It's at some point you got to
and I'm so glad that I don't have that relationship with alcohol anymore. It's fun. I'm not a teetotaler, and I do believe that having a few drinks and getting tipsy and that with good friends is great. But I don't need to constantly have a beer. You know, most days, not most days, but most times when I crack a beer nowadays, I don't even finish it. I just have little desire. I'd rather have a good coffee, or my other thing is I'm drinking diet soft drinks at the moment because I've got a sweet tooth, but I just drink those 0 sugar ones. I know there's chemicals and all the rest of it. There's chemicals in fucking everything, unless you grow your own shit and it's already in the soil. So we're fucked.
It's because I got rid of like all of our plastic and we switched to like glass Tupperware and like glass brewers for the coffee and whatnot. So it makes me feel better. It gives me peace of mind, I guess.
Yeah, you're doing what you can. Interesting video. I'll try and find it. I think the channel was Veritaserum, and they did a test on plastics in people, just talking about how bad it is, and it's in the soil everywhere. And because it's in the soil, it's in everything from fish to plants to fucking. It was insane. And there's one poor guy who was pretty much like you, trying to minimize his plastics. Was 4 times what they said was the recommended safe limit of this PCFs or PFCs or something like that. I don't know, but so you got yourself a good woman, mate. How long has been together?
A decade. Just about a decade.
Congratulations. Coming up on 26 years with my wife this year.
I hope. That's what I'm striving for. And then 27, 28, 29, 30.
Relationships take work, people. You'll have dizzying highs, you'll have terrifying lows. But my wife is my best friend in the entire world. And we fight from time to time, piss each other off and all the rest of it. But I would be lost without her. And I like to think that she'd be lost without me.
I can't wait for society to make like relationships cool again. You know what I mean? Because they made it they made it really vile and like single based and
make being a mum great again. Make being a dad great again. Like, if you don't want to have kids yet, fine, but there is nothing wrong with having kids. There's nothing wrong with having kids early. My wife had our son when she was 19. She's got him over and done with now. She's still in her 40s, mate, and she's got her full working career ahead of her now. The only thing we've got coming up is grandchildren, and that's the cool parents. But all the fun, no responsibility. Well, a little bit of responsibility, but why wait until you're in your 30s to have them? If you can, get them out of the way when you're younger. If you've got someone decent in your life, and try to make it work with that person. A stable family is so good for kids and all the rest of it. But I'm 100% with you, mate. It's sad to see everyone looking down on women who, it's in particular, it seems to be aimed at women, but women who want to have kids, it's almost like well, why would you do that to yourself? Because that's the point of life, is to procreate.
Yeah. And experience life. Can't do that if you're stuck doing, the same
How
thing.
different do you view the world as a parent to when you were single?
Totally different, dude. It's like a
Yes.
complete one. I'm not gonna even say 180 because you do a 180, you do another one, then now you're at a 1080, and it's just like it keeps happening. And it's like one of the coolest roller coaster rides I've ever been on.
I don't think we should allow people to be politicians if they don't have kids.
Well,
Sorry?
what's the saying? Everybody
Not sorry.
should be a parent, but not everybody should be a parent. And I didn't understand that until I became a parent.
Yeah.
So, but that has also changed a lot of my again my views. I guess like some of the videos that I'm helping be a part of or I'm creating is like my own little way of leaving behind, because again, our daughter's 3, and so she's not going to understand it, but there's stuff in there. I mean, if the internet's still a thing and she can access YouTube in 10, 15, 20 years, like she can watch it over and over and over again and realize, there's something in there that I put in there just like sweet, or a little memory, a little voice clip or something like that she can, listen to or watch and think of me or whatever. I don't know, who knows.
Yeah, I view it the same. Like I talk about my son and how proud I am of him.
Yep.
And, one day I'm going to be gone, and he's going to be able to go back on, hopefully these videos will still be up somewhere. I've got them all saved on my computer as well, and he'll be able to listen to them. He'll be able to see me. Hi, Griff, if you're watching this in the future. Love you, boy. Respect your mother and mow the fucking lawn. And just remember what it was like, and show his children and his grandchildren, what Paw was like. That's what I've decided I'm going to be as well. The missus wants to be me more, and I'm going to be Paw.
My
we just, hey,
that's what my in-laws are.
Yep, yeah.
Maybe.
Over here, it's usually grandma, granddad, or nana and pop. We decided we'd just go for something completely different that we like the sound of, and that way we don't have to fight with the whoever his future wife's parents are over who's grandma and who's pop and who's granddad and all the rest of it. Yeah, you guys can have whatever you want. We're me more on Paw. Now, another topic you wanted to talk about, paradox of choice in everything we do and how it is used against us.
Mm-hmm. Again, we don't know, right? So it's not until you live life, you experience some different things. And unfortunately, that means hardships, real struggles. Like my brother's hit rock bottom. And so there's some who would now change their perspective, be like, well, the only way to go is up now. So, but you have to experience those things in order to appreciate, the better aspects of life. But the paradox of choice, man, I mean, literally, we're from a time when there was one flavor soda, one flavor candy, one flavor, this, one option of this. And now there's so many choices that what they're finding out is that for a lot of people, they just freeze. They don't know what to do. They're stuck in this, what do I do? What do I choose mode? Like, and there's always the joke.
And that's a big cause to the increase in social anxiety for a lot of people.
I think so. That's probably one little slice of the pie of it, but absolutely. I mean, and I've been there too. I've been stuck, thinking like, what do I do? I mean, there's a classic husband and wife, like, hey, what do you want to eat for dinner tonight? And, I don't know. So, but like, that's the one I think a lot of people can kind of like relate to, but with social media and just all of like, we talked about AI and how, AI at the end of the day, you talked about bias, like it's programmed. So depending on who owns, if it's Meta, if it's freaking Grok or whatever, like that can all be programmed to be biased. I mean, the questions you ask it is literally, I mean, now I think there's some element of it teaching yourself, but the early days of that stuff was, and I learned this in the programming class, like you type in what question it is and you type in what response you want it to give. So, people just need to be aware that everything that you're saying, like we're from a time where you say seeing is believing, but that is absolutely not the case anymore. So everybody.
Did you see the stuff with the Fortnite Darth Vader?
I have not. Is that like one of the new content things they're doing or what?
Yes, they put it in an AI voiced Darth Vader character that you could have in your squad playing games of Fortnite. And it happened. It went racist. It went sexist. And you've got James L. Jones' voice dropping N-bombs, R-bombs, all those words and just, saying it's what were they thinking, mate? Like,
I don't know. Well, again, we can go down some more conspiracy rabbit holes, but you know what I mean? Like it's all part about being distracted. I mean, it's keeping people distracted. And if you're really letting that, I don't want to get into politics either, but like identity politics is a way of keeping people distracted. And that's where I was going. The art of war. literally divide and conquer. I mean, so if you look what's going on, everybody's being divided, everybody's being segregated. People want to now segregate themselves, divide themselves into little, you know what I mean? And there's elements of that is good, because it sparks. You can make an argument that it sparks innovation or whatever, but we are literally dividing ourselves, and it's getting easier and easier and easier to control, and manipulate more people.
I like talking politics. Contrary, you might not realize that about me. But the reason I do is, yes, I have my own biases, but I do like to think that for the most part, I'm prepared to countenance opposing points of view. And I'm not going to hate on someone for 99.9% of views. I saw recently a Democratic senator or congressman, I can't remember his name, but he went on Andrew Schultz's show or Theo Von's show, and everyone was like, why would you do that? Why would you go on their shows? They're the enemy. It's like, bro, no, they're not the enemy. They're your fellow countrymen. And it's about extending the olive branch, trying to find that middle ground. Like I saw one with, I can't remember his name, but the one who was on the Andrew Schultz show, and he was explaining what he talks about with socialism. And a lot of people, particularly the far right Americans, they hear the word socialism and they start thinking, oh God, communism. Australia is a democratic socialist country, constitutional monarchy technically, but we have a lot of socialist style things. With our Medicare for all, free healthcare for everyone in this country who's an Australian citizen or a permanent resident. And he just explained some of the basics of it, that it's not this big bad bogeyman, but we're not a full-on socialist country either. We're capitalist in our nature. And there are some elements of it which are very, very good for society. But all these people were like, you shouldn't be talking to him. He's an arsehole. It's like, how do you ever expect to mend these bridges to get people back together again if you don't go and talk to people in a civil manner who are diametrically opposed to you in an opinion? It's the divide and conquer, and those who try, like I've been following Andrew Yang and I think it's called the Future First Party in America, and a lot of what he's saying is along those sorts of lines, and I respect that because anyone who's prepared to just talk reasonably with someone who might not have the same views as them, that's to be applauded and respected and should be promoted. Not don't do it. You're a bad man for doing it. You shouldn't go do that.
But it's also dangerous too, because then it goes against whatever narrative, and most governments are trying to portray to keep control. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. We can't just do what we want anymore, right? There has to be some element of control. We like to think we follow rules, and most of us do, but and that's why I like social media and AI. I feel like it's so dangerous.
Yes, you got to be so careful what you see. There was that other guy, the one who had the stroke, who went on Joe Rogan, and everyone was like, "Why would you do that?" And it was like, they had a conversation, people. Why do you not want people to converse? It blows my mind that people. It's part of, going back to what we were talking about earlier, mate. It's part of that rage bait. It's a whole industry around getting people that angry that they'll start throwing money at you to support you, and that's their primary motivation. They can say that it's all about their ideologies or all the rest of it. At the end of the day, they're grifters just making money out of getting people to hate each other, and that, at my very core, makes me very sad as a person.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's bring it back to DayZ but the same topic though, because I want to talk about the really immersive side, and then those are like the hardcore guys, and then the casual DayZ players, because even that has been like, I think maybe we're kind of starting to bring it back together, but there was a pretty good divide there
good
too.
Segue, very good segue.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to. I'll talk politics all day. I don't want to burn up all your time talking about that, but I've been very interested in kind of watching that, because again, it started with Smoke's day one, and that kind of got the ball rolling for a lot of people as far as that little more immersive hardcore experience, and now it's slowly becoming.
I don't know if I would call it a hardcore experience per se, because from what I understand, they don't have really any hardcore mods. He went to more of a vanilla experience, and the smart thing he did was, there is a massive player base from the early days of DayZ that remember pre-bases. And I am a bass bitch. I love my basses. But at the same time, I've just started playing again after a massive break playing Rust for a while. And I'm playing official because I don't want to do basses because basses in DayZ are shit. They really are. They're terrible. Vanilla basses is shit.
You need some really good mods for good basses.
Yeah, Rust is amazing if you want to do basses, but DayZ is shit for it. So I'm playing more of a nomadic style where I'm just going to have some stashes. And day one, when you had that perfect recipe of there's so many people craving that exploration style, the old style, finding a stash in the bushes and that, combined with Smoke's reach because the guy is just fucking massive.
Yeah,
it was a success story guaranteed, and people flock to it.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant by hardcore, because like you play official and you have all these extra doors that open up for you, but on day one, you can have some stashes, but they're limited. So that kind of for me got my perspective changing. And like when I tried my own hand at starting a server, I quickly found, but again, everybody was looking for, I don't want a lot of mods. I want a vanilla experience, but I want like this, kind of tailored vanilla experience. So here I am with like literally 30 mods because I'm trying to like one for one mirror an experience. And it wasn't sticking. I don't think anybody, I shouldn't say anybody. I mean, there was obviously a crowd for everything, but
it was the same when I did mine as well, mate. Dean's Beans. I had my own one. I wanted to go uber hardcore. Had a handful of people who were there for it. I lasted about a year, but in the end, it just, it's hard doing a server, but and trying to find what people want.
Which direction do you see it going? I mean, do you think it's because I personally think it's starting to catch on. I think you guys like us were kind of laying the groundwork. I say guys like us, but like people have been laying the groundwork for a long time, and it just wasn't ready to stick now. But I think
the hard part is, and I'm gonna go to a message I received just out of the blue randomly. Boydie, mate, hope you're doing well, my bro. This is from a guy called Jonk. And on the 23rd of May, he messaged me at 5:13 p.m. We've got to do something about the DayZ community in Australia and New Zealand. It's a joke at the moment. I'm not sure how we do it, but it seems like the pop is so split up between 400 servers. It's like it all needs to be consolidated down, and then maybe we'll get a few decent servers to play on. The style of gameplay we're looking for, and he referenced CBT DayZ, which for those that don't know, and I'm going to trademark this, is Cock and Ball Torture DayZ, my personal favorite. Those servers that you're just struggling to fucking get off the coast, but it's almost impossible to find. And he said there are 97 servers within 150 ping, 14 servers with above 10 people. So 84 servers with less than 10 people. 84 servers with less than 10 people. I sat here and counted them all, 208 people. 208 people playing on dead servers. I just don't get it. I'm not sure if there's a way. That's why I'm messaging you out of desperation. How do we get everyone to play together? I don't know. We need to rally the boys up and point them in the right direction. Love you long time, Boydie. Hope you're having a good day. I just replied to him and said, it's too divided, mate, especially with so many different maps available. Best bet I am finding play official. And the problem with official is there's no admins monitoring it. So you do get a lot of the cheaters and hackers and stuff coming in. But that is the thing that's killing us, mate, is the sheer volume of servers at the moment. And there's this weird attack thing going on at the moment where there's these people making these fake servers that I don't even know what the fuck is to go with them. But I've got a bunch of information that I've sent on to people smarter than me on it. But something like 90,000 DayZ servers at the moment, mate.
Yeah.
You can never get them all to show up. But official servers run at around 200 to 250. The locations of these servers are being faked. The player counts of these servers are being faked. Mate, as much as we want to try and create something that might unite people, like a Day One or a Karma Crew or something like that, but more focused to, say, a hardcore sort of player, it's nigh impossible because the player base for that hardcore style is so tiny. And that's why the more, and I don't mean this offensively, guys, but the more casual sort of less time intense experiences where you could log on for a couple of hours, you don't have the base that you need to maintain and all the rest of it, they take they're easier to play on. So it's so hard, mate. What's your take on what I just said?
I mean, I think you said it all, and I see that's kind of why I'm excited for the future. I mean, right now we're kind of in this weird stagnant period where everybody's figuring out what they like and everybody's trying to create their own thing. But with ARMA Reforger having come out, and then what's going to be on the horizon, I think that's gonna. I mean, everybody's talking about DayZ too, but I think just the next iteration, the next generation of gaming is really going to kind of bring everybody back together in a kind of singularity where anything's possible. You can have everything, and that's what I love about DayZ. That's what I love about ARMA, is because you can still create your own experience, but since it's open world sandbox, there's just a lot of different options. But you're right, there's way too many servers, and I think we'll hopefully kind of see that consolidate a bit, maybe over the next 5-10 years. But
this is the socialist communist in me, mate. But just imagine if a handful of these servers, because some of these small servers that never get off the ground have got some absolute geniuses doing shit behind the scenes with them. But because they're, whether it be, and as much as I promoted and supported some of these monetized servers in the past, when there is a $ attached to, and some of these servers and services make some pretty decent coin, but it's so hard to get them to all unify and create something that, and even if they did, they're then going to get DDoS attacked and all the rest of it. It is so bad. The division isn't just between casual and hardcore. It's between monetized and those who are just doing it for the good of the game, or what they believe is the good of the game. It's one of those sad aspects, mate, of life and humans in general. This is why dogs are better than people.
I 100% agree with that. Do you know how I think we fix that though? Because I realize, I can ask one Z2Z people, oh, hey, check out this. No, I mean, maybe actually I can't rule it out, but I think it's a perspective change. You know what I mean? So I feel like I kind of hit a dead wall with creating the server, and it's still there. I'm actually still paying money to keep it alive, but I think the next route is to create something that because what do they say? Most overnight successes are actually 10 years in the making. So I think the way forward, for me at least, is trying to create content that I'm not even creating for anybody else at this point. Like, it's just me and my buddies, and we're creating it for ourselves or, our families or whatever. And so when you become passionate about something, and that's kind of, I would hear it in my 20s, I would hear it in my early 30s, like, people talking, it's going to sound silly, but positively. And, it's been like, shut up. Nobody has time for that. That's not how the real world works. But literally, you can create, manifest destiny. I don't know if you believe in it or not, but like, we can manifest these things. So if you start believing in, the good or the change that you want to see. So that's why I'm hoping that by making videos that get you to think and just think outside the box and use critical thinking, that you can kind of hopefully get a different perspective. You can put yourself physically in somebody else's shoes by closing your eyes and imagine what it would be like, which a lot of people just don't do. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but if you're reacting and not responding, you're most likely not putting yourself in other people's shoes. So
dropping a few codes in chat there, folks. I realize in our little waxing lyrical on everything from politics to DayZ server division, we hadn't done a code in a while, so let's drop 4 of them right now. I'll say what they all are. So we just dropped Shadow Gambit, the Cursed Crew, valued at $59.95. Corpse Keeper, valued at $29.50. Ultros, valued at $34.99 US. And Uden Chronicle 100 Heroes, valued at $75.95. So good luck. Let us know if you get any of those codes in chat, folks. And I hope you enjoy those games. That leaves us with 2 afterwards, which I'll say the names of. Amnesia the Bunker, valued at $36.50. And Evil West, valued at $69.95. So we'll do those towards the end. Please don't let me forget. But yeah, look, you're an optimist. I hope you can get something happening. But
you know where that came from being a parent, because I don't want to be like dying and then my last thought be like, man, the world is not going to be kind to my kid. You know what I mean? Like, I want to believe that they're going to figure it out. They're going to take what we know, the wisdom, the experience that we have, and be able to manifest something that's better than we're leaving it behind. So, and I really truly want to believe that, because Otherwise, I'm like,
the world needs optimists like you, mate. But the realist in me says I just try to focus on the small sphere of influence I have, and hopefully I can expand that slowly over time. But we'll see how things pan out, and that's why I do my little giveaway each month. It's not much. It only costs me, what is it, about $20 a month, but in my own little way, I get to give out a little bit of love and bring some joy to some people. And hey, can I help people over in Israel or Ukraine and the Gaza and all the rest of it? No, I can't. But I can help those who are watching my show with a little bit. So that's my way of just putting a little bit of better out there, so that hopefully I've got more ticks against my name than crosses when I do go to the pearly gates or whatever lies afterwards.
But do you know what though? Maybe somebody in Israel or Gaza has seen your videos and you have changed them in that way too.
Yep.
So lots of different choices and options out there.
And if you are from one of those places, stay safe. Keep your head down.
I mean, that's another part of it, dude. Like drone warfare, I don't want any part of that. I mean, it was one thing being bombed. It was something kind of peaceful about just, that's it. But you're playing Ring Around the Rosie with, a little drone.
Shit that you can't even do anything about, really. Like, I know they're starting to come up with some good counters of that. Like little EMP style devices that might be able to, shut down the drone but bro, that's
good old fashioned shotgun.
I've said this before. I remember doing the booby trap and mine alley or lane up in Tully in far north Queensland, and that scared the shit out of me. That was a lot of Vietnam era traps and that the old Vietnam vets set up there to keep us on our toes. And mate, I think I stood on fucking everything. Little punji pits and fucking stop there, look up, and there's a big fucking log with spikes and stuff, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. Now you got fucking people flying drones that drop fucking bombs on you, and Christ almighty, it's just
but just no passion, man. Like they're staring. Like one guy's sitting on the toilet and the drone just watches him for a minute and then blows him up. It's like, I get it. War is war
is hell.
War is hell, but I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is. We used to stand in two lines and gentlemanly, shoot volleys of lead at each other, and then somebody was like, "What if we just kind of went around the back and shot him in the back?" You know what I mean? But I don't know what the right answer is. So, I mean, there's always going to be some elements of war. It keeps things moving. It creates different archetypes, but I just think I don't really want any part of it anymore.
The interesting thing, Matt, and I've already poked fun at him, is that he said he's trying to disconnect from technology, and look at his setup.
This is when I was really trying to get into streaming, man. I was all about it. But
I just made you full screen so everyone could see just how much technology you have on your desk.
Well, when I got back from Contractor, man, I had the Contractor money, so I was like, oh man, I got all this time on my hands because I just had one surgery and I was getting ready to do my other one. So, it was a good time. But
now we talked about the DayZ side of things. There was something else that I wanted to touch base on, and we mentioned it briefly at the beginning. ARMA Reforger.
Yes,
bro. Like, I have some issues. I've said this time and time again. I don't like the running animation in ARMA. It is very immersion breaking for me. It just looks so janky. But the other shit that's happening around that game has got me very excited for the potential of what will happen with DayZ in the future, be it DayZ 2 or whatever. But even like they just did a tweet over the weekend, they released mods for PlayStation, which is insane, absolutely insane, and it broke. As with anything, when people try to download en masse and all the rest of it. But they're also discovering some limitations of consoles. It's a great tweet. Have you seen it? The one that the devs put out?
No, I haven't.
It's possibly worth actually reading. Give me 1 second.
Because I like seeing tweets about them breaking new records, peak numbers. You know what I mean? Like every time I see one of those, it just gets me super excited for the future. Because more and more people are leaving the Call of Duty type life and they're coming over to the DayZ or the ARMA life, so to speak. But a lot more options, possibilities.
Okay, let's hope this doesn't break the computer. Dear community, we are overwhelmed by the positive feedback from our PlayStation 5 players about their first forays into the world of ARMA Reforger mods. We are also aware of many community concerns being voiced on a variety of issues and perceived issues affecting players. We'd like to take a moment to address some of the most common concerns, and we'll follow up with additional information on specifics over the next week. Overall, we would like to strongly emphasize that any issues to be addressed are our responsibility, and we are very grateful to Sony for their continuous support, cooperation, and partnership. Mod download issues. First, we had an overwhelming influx of PS5 players yesterday and an unprecedented number of users downloading mods for the first time. We tried our best to prepare for this surge, but it seems that some issues users have experienced are a result of our systems being pushed to their limits. Second, SSDs in consoles are intended to last for the lifespan of the device. As a result, write speeds are primarily geared towards downloading games once. They are less optimized for downloading gigabytes of mods repeatedly, and certain restrictions aimed at ensuring the longevity of the console may result in slower download speeds. So that was a good post, because that was something that I hadn't considered, because you always hear people talking about modding for consoles, but that's quite interesting. Third, if you have issues downloading mods, we can recommend 2 general tips. Patience is key. Repeatedly refreshing, clicking away from screens, and restarting downloads will almost always make things worse. If downloads fail, going to the failed mod in the mod manager and re-downloading individually will usually fix the issues. 2, mod storage limits. The storage limit of 25 gigabytes on PS5 consoles will not allow you to download all the mods for all of your favorite servers. However, we feel this is a reasonable amount of space and that most players can work well within the limits of this allocation. If there is any room for expansion in the future, we will let the community know. We are well aware of this complaint, and comments on social media or elsewhere will not accelerate this process. That is another really good point, because you know yourself, mate, some of these mods, even for DayZ, are fucking huge. And you said yourself, with your server, you ended up having 30 of them. And you were just trying to make a more hardcore vanilla experience, and you ended up with that many mods. So
like the flight mod, I wanted one element of the flight mod, but downloading that he did end up breaking it up, but like that's a huge mod, you know what I'm saying? So you have like 30 of those. It takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, and then with maps as well. Maps are usually always quite big, especially with all the stuff some of them are putting into their maps now. So it's not just a bunch of textures and stuff like that. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff as well. Mod storage error. We are aware of an error that players received, that they do not have enough space to download mods when in fact there is space available. We are looking into this issue and we'll provide a fix as soon as we can. And then some game performance and crashes. So they're into new territory. But I mean, it's very interesting.
The crossplay alone on Reforger, my first time playing it, was super. I was like, whoa! I didn't even realize it was a thing. But you're playing with Xbox kids or people, and you realize it just how much it's opening up. So the fact that PlayStation is now in the fold and they're getting mods, because bringing it back to DayZ too, like watching Sakal come out. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that was a real big, it was emotional for me. Like, but being able to see the console community get that after not getting the Mollusk for so long was a big win. And that was something that console and PC alike should be happy about, because that means it's getting more exposure. So it's exciting to watch things kind of unfold like this. But Reforger, man,
I just shared the tweet in chat, folks, if you want to check it yourself and get some more information. They do talk a lot with other people, raising other concerns there, but we don't need to go into all of that. But it's exciting to see this happening, and it does make me hopeful. I know a lot of people, fuck console ruined DayZ, blah 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 blah. Guys, it's the future. It's the future. Adapt or
get left behind. Yep. But what that started with, though, I feel like is Bohemia kind of open sourcing their code. And I feel like that's going to be something that we see in the future with more, because AAA studios, dude, I'm not going to say that they're dying, but their formula's not working anymore. People want more immersion. People want more say in the games that they're
following the stuff with Bungie at the moment.
What's that?
You following the stuff with Bungie at the moment?
Oh no! What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, bro, it's just a fucking nightmare. stealing artwork from people, and it's bad. It's exactly what you said. They've divorced themselves from Microsoft now, but they're still not the company they were back when they made the original Halos.
And that's
Halo Reach was about the last good one for me.
Yep. But see, you invest like you invest decades of time into these games, and you get attached to them. And it's to watch them kind of die off. I guess stuff rises out of the ashes, so to speak. But
how do you rate Bohemia as a game dev company? This is a topic that I've got my views on, but it's always good to hear from other people.
I feel like they've stayed tried and true to who they are. Like Operation Flashpoint to Reforger is still Operation Flashpoint. You know what I mean? It's at the core. So that's kind of what's been exciting for me, is that I've gone and branched out and played other games, but they have always just been, and I know they have other games too, but specifically speaking on this genre, it just seems like they've always stayed true to who they are, and I can respect and appreciate that, because I think all of us kind of crave a little bit of familiar. Yeah, I'm struggling. Comfort,
familiarity.
Familiar, yeah. But it's nice to just be able to kind of come back to a game, and after literally 2 decades, it still feels the same.
I don't get where a lot of people come from with their rage at them. If it wasn't for mods, this game would be shit. Well, guys, that's always kind of been their model. They release a base game and they let modders flesh it out in the areas that it needs and all the rest of it. There's some things they could do better. Fucking hope they could. But when you compare their model to the egregiously greedy tactics of most of the AAA companies out there, they're a fucking model citizen in the gaming world.
2042 is a disaster. And the best example I could think of, Battlefield, is that.
What was it? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what a heartbreak to watch that game just bomb after a decade of like just classic awesome gaming. So experiencing, though, that's gonna be the next thing. People with all these different options now with Reforger and the mods, because to go back to DayZ again, like every time a mod gets really popular, what do? They bring it into, they make it canon, so to speak. You know what I mean? They make it part of official. So this whole division between modded and official is so silly, because now the official the mods are becoming official. You know what I mean?
That's an area I think they could do better with. Like a bounty program or a reward program to financially thank some of the modders who've inspired some stuff, because I do believe there are some mods that they've taken inspiration from, and I know some modders have taken inspiration from old armor. So it's kind of funny there, but it'd be nice to see something official worked out there where some of the modders can get some coin in their pocket. And I'm hoping with this store that something like that does get worked out. A certain percentage of the sales gets put into a pool, and approved modders who've got a good reputation can make some money from doing their hobby if they want. And I'm aware that comes back to the issue I was talking about with servers, that when you put money into it, there are always people, there's always going to be bad actors, but that's everything in life, folks. You just got to work around it and come up with systems to try to minimize that, and try to reward the good ones. But I like their model. I like the company. Yes, full disclosure, they flew me out to Prague last year, all expenses paid for me, to go to DayZ Unite. But regardless of that, I've never not said what my opinion is on something. When I'm unhappy with something, I'll say it. When I'm happy with something, I'll say it. And I've got to tell you, mate, I tried some 1.28, and I'm pretty fucking happy with some of the stuff I saw. Like that aim point sight, bro. That aim point sight is on point. It is a great little scope.
Yeah.
Borderline going to be one of bro, you need to.
Okay.
I've also got that new marksman scope. And that is just wow. I went for a drive. The vehicles, they feel a little heavy, but it's a massive change from how floaty they were before. And my God, the Humvee in particular was an absolute treasure to drive. I'm quite excited for this next patch and to see where it goes. I'm I mentioned this a while back. I think I did. Don't quote me. I could be just misremembering. But I did mention this to some people. Maybe this is heading towards a return of everybody's favorite. Do you know where I'm going with that?
No.
We like to party.
Yeah, of course.
We like to party. The party bus. How cool would it be to I swear I'd probably crack a fat if I got onto a server and I heard it in the distance, that tune and a party bus coming down just full of randoms, all just being absolute autistic freaks as the party bus used to bring out. It was some of the best memories of the game. Seeing a party bus rock up at the Northwest Airfield and just a dozen players just all spilling out into the airfield with a bunch of geared guys going, what the fuck is going on? And just chaos.
What was the desert map that was really popular for a while?
Takistan.
I remember that was the only time I ever got to see the party bus was on Takistan.
Bro, it was the best. And that, DayZ Unite, when we went there, that place we stayed at actually had a party bus, literally a fucking party bus. It had glow lights and everything. And they got it fired up one night. I didn't get to go on it, sadly, but some of the guys have got footage on their channels of them driving around with all these techno lights and everything. And it was just, that would be amazing for me if with this rework of the vehicles they can bring the party bus back, because that would be a huge mod, as silly, not mod, a huge addition to the base game. And as silly as it sounds, it'd bring some people back just for the memories of that old school, driving or running along and just seeing a bus full of people all just talking absolute dog shit to each other. Someone would shoot at them and then they'd all get out and they just spill out and have a big gunfight, and then they'd all pile back into the bus if it was still going. And just some great memories. Oh God, mate, you've got me remembering.
What was your first DayZ experience? Very, very, very first DayZ experience.
The first DayZ experience I can remember is meeting Charlie DayZ at the Northwest Airfield. I think it was very, very early. I had a few before that, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I've been watching a few videos, and but the first real memory I can remember was meeting Charlie, because he was the first person I can recall speaking to me in game. And then we became friends from there. And it's pretty much thanks to him. If anyone who hates me wants to know who to blame Charlie DayZ for me ending up behind a microphone. But it was just that further exploration of just what games were becoming. That there was this game where you could shoot and kill someone, but you didn't have to. And it kind of inspired my reactions series I did, where I used to, primarily a lot of them were at the Northwest Airfield, but even way back then, I was a bit of a PvP boy, but I didn't always want to PvP, and I wanted to try to read a situation and a bit more of the psychology of what makes DayZ so great. That I always feel that people who just go and play it for PvP are wasting their time. There's better games if you want PvP. DayZ's more than just PvP, and I was so happy the other day I got held up by a guy. He didn't just kill me. He was geared. I wasn't. He could have just killed me, but he didn't. He held me up. Just wanted to check what I had on me because he was chasing NBC gear. Tied me up. Gave me some medicine. Took a bit of food I had on him because I could hear his tummy rumbling. He needed it, but he didn't kill me. And it was so nice that this was unofficial as well. So nice that someone didn't just kill me.
I've got a really cool clip where I ran into Smoke like when I first started playing DayZ, and same thing. He held me up, and now that you kind of like you experience the world a little bit, and I don't know if you've ever worked as a police officer or something like that, you have these interactions in real life, and you can kind of use them in the game, and to listen to him secretly, and not secretly, but like just tell me in a way that's not threatening, like, hey, we have guns, what do you have? We're looking for some stuff. And to have that interaction, because like you said, most people just run up and blast you. And like, what is, everybody.
It's a skill. It's a skill being able to do it. Vigilante's got a video on it, on how to hold someone up who doesn't want to be held up. And he did pretty much the same. He let the guy know, mate, you're outgunned, you're outnumbered.
Do you know
There's
what we
two
call
ways
them?
this will go down. We're either going to kill you, or you can try to trust us.
But it's a psychological, like you said, there's a psychological aspect, because we in the military we called it a verbal judo. You got to have the verbal judo. So if you can,
Yep.
Talk to somebody in a manner, and you got to be able to change, like you said, adapting to your surroundings, to the different people and the stimuli that comes in. You got to be able to change on the fly. But it's like only like a 1 minute, 2 minute hold up, but there's so many shifts in the conversation, and then
There's one key requirement to be able to do this verbal judo. You need to have reached a state of Zen, and that Zen is that you are beyond gear fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm firmly of the belief that, yes, there are some people out there who just like to kill and shoot everything that moves. And they're the ones who should be playing Call of Duty or PUBG, in my opinion. But for the majority of other people who shoot, like, how many times has someone shot at you and you've opened up the microphone afterwards and they've gone, "Oh, mate, you scared the shit out of me."
Yeah.
It's about the gear fear.
Yeah.
And most people, they don't want to lose their shiny, pretty pixels, and they will shoot out of fear, because in most cases, they're used to just people shooting at them. And you've got to reach that point of Zen where if someone shoots at you, your first response is not to shoot back. Your first response is to try to calm the situation down. And then you're going to get some memories, because I've said this so many times on the podcast, but how many of your kills do you remember? Not many of them. How many of the interactions that were quality interactions do you remember? Nearly all of them. Even if you're not a content creator, you remember these people that you probably never met again, but just gave you the most random, bizarre interactions. Whether they were funny, whether they were, it's one of my criticisms of day one is it seems that everyone who plays it is all trying to be some sort of edgy, funny character in the hopes that they might bump into a Smoke or a Running Man or an XQC or someone and get big and famous. So sometimes it feels a bit forced. But for the most part, you don't even need to put on one of those personas. You just need to, I'm not really good at it. My only role play I could ever do was when I had the fireman's outfit. I'd say I was a fireman when the apocalypse started, or I was a stripper and I was dressed up as a fireman, and take my shirt off and start dancing in game. But that's about the limit of my ability to role play. But you've got to reach that point of just remembering, and it is hard because DayZ is so brutal in most cases. Back on the coast with nothing, but it just adds to the joy of the game when you can have something a bit more than you look at some of the best videos you've ever watched. The big name people just meeting up with a random and having the greatest adventures with them.
Yeah, and that's what life's all about, is adventures. So I think that a lot of people can kind of resonate with DayZ because they can, whatever your reason is, if it's escapism or whatever, like they can resonate with that because they want, they want that way. People want to experience things that maybe they're in a wheelchair, they'll never get to experience. So being able to jump on a video game, run around and live this other life is appealing for a lot of people, especially today when the world has so many problems going on. So, but Smoke specifically though, I like, when I was in my drinking days, I would jump online and stream, and I would pass out drunk on stream, or I would just start screaming at stuff, and I would have a good time, and people loved it. They loved watching me like destroy myself on stream. But now, like watching Smoke after we had our daughter, and just watching him like walk into a building and slowing down, like literally walking. You know what I mean? Like so many people are in a rush to run in the game. Like, have you ever just walked into a room and surveyed him? You might miss that little piece of ammo over there or something. So I kind of like have started to emulate that myself and change my own play style to kind of be this more laid back, slow, like, slow, smooth as fast type of thing.
One of arguably the best PvPer in the DayZ streaming community. And that's not just because of his muscle reflex, point and click and all the rest of it, but it's his Zen-like ability to read a situation. But he doesn't just do that, Most of the time, you'll see him try to interact with people. When he has to, throw some bullets down range, he can do that with the best of them. But that's one of the things I do enjoy about watching his streams is it's more than just that. He'll try to hold people up. Back when I was first watching content creators, they were the ones I yearned for. The likes of the Lonely Bandit was a favorite of mine. Pommy Guy had a little winky face. oh God, why can I not remember his name? It's been so long since he made content. Someone in chat, if you know who I'm talking about, please help me out. But he would he did some really creative editing where you never knew if he was going to kill the person or not. But when he did, he killed them in a way that I can guarantee you they remembered. He betrayed them. He betrayed their trust. And he just had the nicest British sounding voice that he would have lulled me into a false sense of security, and then he betrayed them. And those are the things that make memories. Just running and gunning. Yeah, look, if that's how you de-stress after work, you do you, boo. But one day you're going to hit that peak zen, and you're going to start getting more from the game than just shooting everything that moves.
Do you know what I find really fascinating is that
Danny Boy. Sorry, Danny Boy. That was his name, Danny Boy.
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that one.
I'll send you a link to his channel afterwards. He's amazing.
People that have served in the military, you know, they have a certain skill set, knowledge that is easily transferable to video games. So what I find super fascinating is that people that, I don't know if Smoke has ever served in the military, but like the fact that somebody can play a game enough, you know, 5 years, 10 years, and literally learn the same tactics through just experiences that they interact with, you know, on a regular basis they might not know the term or the definition we use that we call in the military, but like the fact that they know it and can implement it is crazy. And that's just purely from trial and error and doing the same thing over and over and over and having the ability to respawn and come back and, you know, kind of test out different methods or whatever. So
I'm going to put in a video that I know. I'm not going to play it because my PC always shits itself when I play a video, or my connection does. But this one will get people to watch. The Friendly Frenchman, DayZ Standalone. 8 years ago was when Danny Boy released this video. But his channel is just full of videos like this where you're not quite sure what's going to happen. A good guy alone in the woods, the enemy inside, good men, man down, lockdown, cultist Steve, shotgun Danny. And he's got a certain art style for his videos as well, which I yearn for. I loved it. Whenever he released a video, I watched it. It's been sadly 4 years since his last upload. And I genuinely miss his content, but he's off playing other games now and all the rest of it. But yeah, he was an amazing. But also the Lonely Bandit. The Lonely Bandit was, as his name suggests, he was a bandit, but he wasn't a nice guy. When he robbed people, he made it a horrible experience for them. There was no friendly laughs or anything like that. It was, I'm robbing you. I'm taking your shit. If you don't do as I tell you, I will kill you. And I liked it for that. Not everyone needs to be nice or funny or all the rest of it. And he was good at what he did. You know, I even gave him one of my, he inspired me to try a hold up. And then I sent it through to him to do a reaction of. And he roasted me. Deservedly. But yeah, he said that it was just good to see someone trying something a bit. There we go, Bandit School. I just had it. Let me go back. Robbery versus hold up. I'll share that one as well if people want to see something. Me trying to be a bad guy, which is not normally what I do. But yeah, it was so funny listening to TLB. And again, yeah, that's another one who. It's been 7 years since he uploaded. He's off doing other things. He moved to the US, met himself a lovely woman, and really nice guy. I miss him. He used to run with us all the time back in the day with Vigilante and that. Yeah, he's got videos, top cities for robberies. He did a Bandit School, the ultimate loadout, and just teaching people how to do things just a bit different than just running and killing everything.
Yeah. But you don't get there unless you open your mind up to, you know, other alternative ways of playing or experiencing the game. So we're
100%.
getting there, though. We're getting there.
Now, what else did we have on our agenda to talk about? The big topic, violence in video games. Why? The back and forth dilemma over the years between scientists who say it's bad for us and those that tout its benefits, learning, therapy, etc. How do they compare to movies of similar violent caliber? Is the point not still to be able to discern being between right and wrong, the golden rule life? I know that you and I are pretty much going to be in agreement on this, that it's horses for courses. There are some people who really shouldn't be playing violent video games because they're sick, twisted motherfuckers. But they're also the same people who shouldn't be watching John Wick or reading certain books and things like that. To put it all, there's some famous footage of back in the days when video games first started showing violence and all the rest of it. Mortal Kombat, finish him. They were horrified at fatalities.
I remember seeing Congress talking about it. Mortal Kombat.
Yeah. Yep. I remember doing my first Sub-Zero one where he rips their skull out and spinal cord. And I was like, that is the coolest fucking... Have I ever wanted to go and rip someone's head, skull and spinal cord out? Fuck no. Physically impossible. But in a video game, and it's the same with movies. It's the same with so much in life. But what's your take on it?
I think, everything is about balance. I mean, when you look at the infinity loop, I mean, we might go to one side, we might go to the other side, but eventually we come back to the middle. And, a lot of people are being desensitized and in every aspect. I mean, like you can look at, it wasn't that long ago that like Britney Spears first came out on the scene, and before that, I mean, girls dressed totally different, and I understand like, society's changed.
Madonna,
changed
Madonna, when she came out in the 80s, inspired a whole dress style.
Yep. And so I lost my train of thought there, but I think, what were we talking about?
You were talking about with everything coming back to the middle again.
Oh yeah, finding balance. So just finding balance. I think that's something that everybody can do and apply to themselves or their own life. But again, man, I sound like a broken record, but just taking a minute to think and respond instead of just reacting, because that's kind of what the meta is right now, so to speak.
So I've just given my producer some chin scratches. Papa Boo's a very good boy, and he's been very, very good with this stream. There's been no issues so far. You've done your job very well. That'll get you some nice treats after the stream, buddy. My co-star is snoring in the background. Yeah, my dog snores like his dad.
How old is your dog?
Okay, so Hop is 5, and Max is just a big 3 boy, just turned 3. They're half brothers. They got the same dad.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's Hopper-Boo. And you can see Max's tail in the background. Yeah. Max will jump up on me in any second now because he's the attention whore. But yeah, 2 golden retrievers. I love them. I love dogs.
Yeah, me too. Obviously,
they bring you so much joy.
Violence, though.
A pet of any sort, but yeah, violence.
John Wick, that started from a dog. You mean, what I'm saying? Like, there's all these associations, though. That's why, like, having grown up watching all the movies, though, I mean, you get desensitized to it at some point, and then maybe you find yourself in that real life experience. So it's like, okay, whoa.
But you're desensitized as well from your service as well, mate. So you're an extra level of desensitization. Like I watched Mr. Nobody with my son, and the bus fight scene where he does the tracheotomy with the pen.
Yep.
My son was literally sitting there going, "My fucking God!" I'm sitting there going, "That's the coolest shit ever." He did a tracheotomy with a steak knife.
Yeah.
Which is with the knife that he had, and then stuck a pen in there. And I'm like, my son was like, "How do you even know what that is?" And I said, "First aid training, son. Collapsed windpipe, or when there's a sucking chest wound, or some sort of obstruction of the mouth, and that for them to be able to breathe, right between the Adam's apple and the little lump underneath the larynx. You put a small incision, stick a pen, and if you can, seal it up, and they can breathe again." And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I was so desensitized to it that you sometimes forget that other people see the same stuff that you and I see and just go, "Oh, that was pretty cool." And they're like still reeling from the horror of what they just witnessed. Like unless it involves kids and animals, for the most part, I'm very desensitized.
But you have to be, though, to be able to do those jobs. I mean, like, that's what I don't know what the right answer is, and there's probably is no right answer, but like finding balance, like I wouldn't want my kid to experience any of the things that I experience. I mean, everybody's different. I mean, maybe some people don't.
Do you want your kid to join the military?
At this point, no. I mean, and that's something my wife and I have talked about. Until the military shows some signs of changing in a direction that I feel like is going to be more effective. I mean, obviously we still get shit done, but there's also part of me that feels like it's just a horse and pony show. You know what I mean? Almost all the military industrial complex as a whole. So
exactly the words I had going in my head, mate. I'm literally at the point now where, to anyone who says to me they'd like to join the Defence Force, my opinion is that they need to start adding a caveat that your contract states that you can never be deployed overseas. Basically, that you are only a Defence Force.
Yeah.
Those who want to go overseas and serve the military-industrial complex and whatever the goals of that is. I'm certain there'll be another country soon that has some oil that needs to be freed. But for the most part, unless it was to be just purely in a defensive capacity, I would not sign up, because you just don't know where you're being sent, whether the information that you're being sent overseas is true or not, and even worse, whether it's for other ulterior motives.
Yeah. I mean, just some of the operations that, like, we were part of, to watch, we weren't allowed to talk about, to see it in the news, 10 years later is pretty wild, because you realize that what you're being told in the moment might not be the entire truth. You might be some smoke and mirrors or whatever, and there might be some national security reasons that you can't talk about it. But like, now social media is everywhere. I feel like they had to kind of implement this distraction, because OPSEC used to be a huge thing. Operational security. You don't talk about where, troop movements, all this kind of that.
Yep.
But now people are on their phones deployed, and it's like, well, what the heck are you doing? So
there's YouTube channels talking about troop positions in Ukraine and Russia all the time. Within 24 hours, and what they believe their objectives are going to be. And do people not remember loose lips sink ships? Yep. Fuck me. Hey, did you ever serve in Afghanistan?
I tried. I had a deployment that was spooling up for it. I got all the shots and injections for it, or vaccines.
You probably know guys who did, though.
Oh yeah.
How did Kandahar affect them?
I think everybody's experience different. Like I said, when I got in the Air Force, I didn't think I was going to get to do anything cool. But then when I got to Moody, we had guys that were going on CJ SOTF missions, where Combined Joint Special Operation Forces missions, and some of these guys were working with Green Berets and whatnot. And again, I think the reason dark humor is so relevant in the military is because you have to be able to make sense of what you're doing in the moment, so that you can get the job done and get back home. But then you get out of the military and you're like, oh shit, this doesn't actually translate to what I'm doing right now. Like, I can't just drink my problems away. I can't just get myself distracted. Like, I gotta sit and think about it. So I don't know if that's like the natural kind of like arc of people who serve, is like, you serve, you make sense of it while you're doing it, and then you kind of get out and you reflect on it. Maybe you don't reflect, maybe you're still distracted. But
it's not the norm for a lot of people. A lot of people are still so stuck back in those days, mate. And they can't move on from it. It's the single greatest experience of their life. And it's kind of sad that is like, it is an experience of my life, having served and being overseas in Somalia. Get your bingo cards out, folks. There you go. I just said bingo. I also play on DDU, and I like to run traders. It takes a while for some people to reach that point where you move past it and realize that it was a very formative part of your life. But the point of my question there was, we've got a whole new generation of men and women who are going to be going through post-Vietnam trauma of, they served their country for almost 20 years. In some cases, with Iraq and Afghanistan and God knows what else, all for it to have been pretty much for naught. And Kandahar airfield was just a horrible, horrible fucking way for that whole conflict to end, in an absolute abomination, with some of the most horrifying footage of people clinging onto planes and hearing about the attack on the US troops at the airfield. And it was just so sad. And then, the biggest aid package ever to a foreign fucking country, of all the weapons and helicopters and that got left behind for the Taliban. I feel for the generations of people who are trying to unpack that. I served, I got injured, I've got PTSD, my mates died, all for what?
Yeah, my buddy that was, like I said, was on these CJ SOTF missions, came back, and he was like showing us videos of like dead bodies and stuff. And again, having been on the, growing up on the internet, you see pictures of gore at some point. If you're, maybe not if you're a girl or something, I don't want to be, go down that rabbit hole, but like growing up as a curious teenage boy, you see some gory pictures of death or whatever. But for me, I still was able to kind of separate that because I'm looking at it on a screen, whereas he, you know, was the one taking the picture, taking the video, and experiencing it in person. So I think that's kind of why, again, go back to the videos and wanting to create content that kind of makes people think, because, you know, right now, our ARMA's doing this, make ARMA,
make ARMA not war.
Yes, make ARMA not war. And so we've kind of spin that into experience ARMA not war, because as a veteran, you know, we have a very unique perspective that we can bring to the content, to the mods, to whatever it is that we're trying to create, and, you know, make it in a way that I hope. I mean, obviously, again, the military industrial complex is a big thing. There's probably always going to be wars, but I hope more people can kind of experience this thing and then have the open mindedness to say, like, dang, I would never want to do this in person. This is pretty horrible. But again, propaganda with movies, with music, whatever. You know, there's going to be a bunch of different archetypes that go and serve, you know, serve the nation and want to go out and do that and experience it. And then they find themselves experiencing it. So I do feel fortunate. Like I said, I chased that for so long. I wanted to go do the cool guy shit and freaking drop bodies and kicking indoors. And I chased it.
I'm just happy doing it with pixels nowadays.
Yes. And that's what I'm getting at. So I think more people should, you know, experience those things, and like I said, be able to put themselves in the shoes and say, okay, this is enough. It's enough to experience this and not have to like kill people and, you know, have corruption and money. Because, like, you know, the little quick backstory, but like in Iraq, we used to search big pallets of cash, and that cash was money going right to the Iraqi government. And to put that kind of money into a country that's, you know, arguably they have their own wealth, but like there's just mass corruption. And so we had, like, I was talking to a guy one time, and he was telling me that, like, guys would die. They would send the bad kids off to Ramadi, and like they would die, and then their commanding officer would keep the money, and they would be telling the mom and the dad, like, oh, your son's doing great work fighting ISIS, like, thank you for their service, you know, da da da. And that like, I mean, we have every country has their own problems, but like those kinds of things, like, people shouldn't have to experience. I mean, we don't know, know, but I mean, you can maybe hopefully find some grace and whatever, and the positive that comes from it, but you should.
I had an Uber driver the other day who was from Sudan, and he'd been a child soldier. And I've had a number of Sudanese and African Uber drivers over the years. This is the first one who ever told me. He goes, "Yeah, I was a child soldier," and I'm like, "Fuck, man, that's just messed up."
Yeah. But if that's your norm and that's your baseline, you until you get out of that headspace, or you get out of that way of thinking, or that echo chamber, or whatever it is, you don't really know you're in that situation. You know what I mean? So now he's probably older, he can understand and make more sense of it. But yeah, I'm just, hopefully we can kind of promote some more critical thinking and get away from this.
What's time where you are, Mitch?
It's 10:06.
10:06. What is that clock in the background there? It's been confusing me. I'm like, it's not 3 o'clock where you are.
I have the ability to set like the time on it, and so sometimes I have like the clock, but I also I usually start it as like a stopwatch. So I'll zero it out when I start to sit down, and that way I kind of know how long I'm playing. Because in days you can get immersed for. Yes. I mean, I remember before my daughter was born, like playing like for 12 hours, 14 hours straight sometimes. You know what I mean? And
that's a good topic. How has gaming changed for you now that you have a daughter?
Who just had a kid? Another streamer just had a kid. Amish Z had a kid.
Yep.
And I've been meaning to like message him and be like, how? Because I'm sure he's still streaming and whatnot, but everybody's situation is different. But for me,
he's going to Prague next month.
I did not see that. That's exciting.
Yeah, he's they're doing another DayZ Unite style event, and he's one of them that's going, and I think he is a great choice for them because he's pretty much a very vanilla sort of guy.
Yeah, man. But I wonder what his experience has been like, though, as far as, you know, being a new dad and playing. Because for me, it's pretty much all the memes are true. Like, you sit down, you boot your computer up, and it's like, you know, starts crying or whatever it is that pulls you away, and you go do your parent duties and you try to come back. But it patience, and again, finding that balance. Like right now, my daughter's asleep and my wife's asleep, and if I wanted to, I could be playing some games right now. But you know, I got other priorities and responsibilities.
You've got to get up in the morning, and you've got to make sure you're awake and able to support the missus. And
that's been the tough part, is because like I'm finding my new passion, like kind of making videos, but I still.
Is that why you've been turning? Have you been like maybe thinking you're hearing your daughter cry or something?
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. I was wondering, I thought someone was maybe coming in, but it all makes sense to me now because you've got that parent mode. You're constantly on the lookout for your baby and your wife.
Like my wife and daughter, when the power was out, went to go see my sister-in-law, her sister, And unfortunately, you know, when they do go on trips and it's just me like here, and I can lock the doors and I can 100% let my guard down, knowing I don't have to, you know, protect anybody or do anything like that, and I can just immerse myself completely. It's great. But yeah, you'll see me like lifting my headphones up because I think I hear something. But
yep, that's the protector instinct in you, mate. Like the world is not as big a bad, a scary a place as social media and the news would like to make it out to be. But there is, you know, the night is dark and full of terrors. As a quite a good Game of Thrones line. But you know, as a father, you're a protector. First and foremost, you're the protector and provider for your family, and that's good to see you doing that, because it's the greatest thing about being a parent is, you know, you don't fully understand it until that moment when you realize there's something more important than just yourself, and that's your kid. You know, my missus and I have always said, you know, come a situation, even now that he's 24, he still comes first. I would give my life for my son. He is the future.
The balance that we talk about is you know, like I used to game really late, even after like once our daughter started taking like consistent naps, and I knew I can, you know, get the gaming session in, or the streaming session or whatever, like, and I would sleep in until, you know, my wife would have to like wake me up, and that wasn't cool because I wasn't being helpful. So now I get up early. I get up like around 3-4 o'clock, well before anybody else gets up, and that's my time. If I want to edit a video, I edit a video. If I want to play some games, I play a game, and I feel like by taking the time to slow down, I'm getting rewarded, man, because I'm having some like epic 1-hour sessions where just everything is happening, and maybe it's not like an action-packed thing, but there's enough, you know, interactions with other people, and suspense, whatever. Just like it's great, man. I'm totally head over heels in love with DayZ, with ARMA right now, and I'm super excited for the future of it.
You change your style. You don't play the same way you used to. You've still managed to make it work. That's awesome. That is really, really awesome. What else did we have on our? So we were still talking on the violence side of things, which it does make me laugh when the people, you know, video games cause violence and all the rest of it. No, it's a human nature to be violent. You know, even women can be violent to an extent. Usually not as much as men, for, you know, a lot of various reasons, but it's in human nature. You know, we're never going to stamp that out, as much as people might think they can, and to try and label it all on, you know, one little thing. Well, not that gaming is little now; it's a massive, you know, $1 trillion industry. But yeah, it's part of human nature, and people just, you know, for whatever reason, they enjoy, you know, whether it be watching UFC, or, you know, watching you know, Ultimate Fight compilation videos on YouTube or whatever. It kind of fascinates us.
But look at that evolution too, from boxing to UFC to like, you know, full brawl, like, you know, no bare
UFC, no rules, and then they realized they had to implement rules because it was just too fucking scary.
But again, that goes back to, you know, the desensitization. Like, where do you draw the line? I mean, maybe it's just individually on us to, you know, to figure that out and just experience life. But like, yeah.
Look, part of it comes back to, there's an old saying attributed to a Japanese samurai, and his student asks him, because, you know, if you know much about samurais, you know, they've got their strict code of honor that they apparently live by, but they weren't just about fighting; they were also into arts and all that sort of stuff. And the student would see the samurai in his garden all the time, and said to his master, you know, why do you spend so much time in the garden? He goes, because it's something I enjoy. And he goes, so why are you a samurai? And he said, I'd rather be a samurai in a garden than a gardener in a war. And it's human nature to, you know, want to be able to, not everyone, but for a lot of people, you know, like yourself, you've got that protector streak in you, keeping an ear out for the family and all the rest of it. And, you know, it's part of, I don't know whether I captured it well, but it's in our nature. You know, as advanced as we've become as a society and all the rest of it, we're still little sacks of meat and blood and nerve endings and all the rest of it. And we need to know how to look after ourselves, and we need to be aware of what other people are capable of. And, you know, for some people, that's going and joining the military, or becoming a police officer, or studying a martial art, or whatever. And for others, it's just playing some video games and letting out their stresses that way. Play a few rounds of Call of Duty or whatever, and pretend that the guy you're shooting is your boss who pissed you off at work today. That's a much better way than actually taking a gun into work the next day as well, folks.
Yeah. I like that. It's changed since like the early 2000s, even, where I remember I was always super into video games, but I would never tell anybody that, because you don't want to talk to a girl.
Shame.
So, but now it's completely out there in the atmosphere. Girls are playing video games, boys are playing video games.
Bloody William. Have you ever heard of William, a Rust streamer? Massive. He's one of the largest Rust streamer. He drops a video. It always trends on gaming, sometimes even just on YouTube. He streamed a collab where he teamed up with Fritz Taylor, I think his name is, one of the world's best tennis players, a US tennis player. And he was playing Rust with him. And he said, Fritz has had to go for his a media thing, or to do his training for the day. But you wouldn't have seen that. Look at Henry Cavill, Superman.
I was going to just bring him up. He's a huge for Warhammer. You know what I mean? Like, no shame just saying, yeah, I like this. I might also happen to be what people consider attractive individual, but that doesn't mean like I don't like nerdy stuff. I don't like cool. You know what I mean? Like, I think people are starting to get a little bit more comfortable with that, which is nice to see. So
damn straight. But yeah, look, stop trying to make fucking something be your bogey, which is video games and all the rest of it. It's a much more complex issue than just one thing. It's a lot of different things. You can put music down to it, and religion, and there's so many factors involved in it. And anyone trying to blame it all on one thing has an ulterior motive. And when it comes to politicians, they all have an ulterior motive. What is the long game in gaming for you, mate? Your last point.
I'm reading the walls, or I'm reading the writing on the walls as, they're just trying to get more immersive. So, looking at specifically what DayZ is doing with the DayZ Unite, and again, bringing the modders into the fold, giving them paid jobs. I mean, for me, coming in late to the DayZ experience, I took that as a win for me too. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, did I get anything benefit from it other than the game, arguably getting better?
Bro, there's people who are. When was the last time you bumped into someone who said they just downloaded the game? Probably not that long ago. There's new people finding this game, especially with it being on console, and the amount of people who've come from console to PC. It's a good thing for the game.
So I hope that they kind of keep doing that, and I think personally that's what they're trying to do with ARMA. But because again, they're not going to not take advantage of the technology and how rapidly it's expanding and allowing us to do all these intricate things. So, because you said you have played Reforger already.
Yes.
What did you think about the controls?
Not bad.
Because I don't know if you got a chance to use like the
binoculars. It's more gaming. I just quickly brought something up.
Yeah.
How many games do you think have been released since 2012? Rough ballpark on PC.
Like just any game?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be like
thousands. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's ask. We'll try. Well, I'll ask Grok and see if it gives me a rant about white genocide at the same time. How many video games have been released on PC since 2013? We'll say 2013. So Grok is going to give me an answer once it's searched. Holy shitballs, Batman. 77,214 video games approximately released on Steam alone. Now, the reason I say that is DayZ is on the Steam charts ranked number 31.
Wow.
And it was released in 2012, 2013.
So look at that. That's about 10 years in the making. Overnight success,
Counter-Strike is still number one.
Okay.
702,000. PUBG 95,000. What else have we got on here? The old games. Rust 72,000. Team Fortress 2 45,000. So yeah, that tells you a lot, doesn't it, about games like this and the immersion and the survival, the replayability of games like this. It's insane. Project Zomboid, 24,000. 7 Days to Die, 22,000. Payday 2, 22,000.
I'm hearing a lot of games that require you to not require you, but like, you know, have the ability to make you think and you know, kind of use your noodle to problem solve, which is good. I mean, that's what we need. We need that to combat the micro all the micro content out there that just keeps people freaking zombies and swiping their phone. But I think that's what can come from these games though too, is like, you know, we talked about you know, different benefits that come from gaming, like learning and therapy and stuff like that. Like initially one of my focuses was wanting to help, you know, veterans. I mean, everybody experiences different things and some people don't want to re-immerse themselves, whereas some people it could be beneficial to, you know, kind of getting back in there and experiencing it and saying, okay, maybe this isn't as scary as I have made it out to be, you know, and been thinking it has been for the next, you know, for the past 5 or 10 years. But I'm excited to see that kind of manifest too, because again, if you're only playing like a AAA platform that says, hey, we're going to drop you in this little square and you can run around and shoot each other, like you're not really experiencing a lot. I mean, it might be fun. It might be, you know, letting off some steam or whatever, but ultimately the bigger you can make these sandboxes and the more options and opportunities you can give people, the different ways you can utilize that same game, you know? And I think that's what you talked about, playability for DayZ and ARMA is so good.
I'm actually putting this out in a tweet because it's something I'd wondered about, and then with me, I always forget. But yeah, the amount of times I brought where DayZ is on the Steam charts, and it just made me think I need to do this right now. 77,000 games, and DayZ is still in the top 50 games being played.
That doesn't surprise me. Do you feel like DayZ has stayed true to themselves?
To an extent. At the end of the day, they have bills to pay, and this is something I try to tell people, that yes, as much as we would like you know, DayZ to have gone a certain way, at the end of the day, they can't please everyone, because, you know, we talked about this before, how divided the player base is between what they want. Which reminds me, I've got 2 more games to give away. I'm going to say the names. Just putting them into chat now, folks. Let me finish this. And this should be the last one. Enter those codes into Steam, folks, and get yourself a free game. Evil West and Amnesia the Bunker. That should be all of them now. But they can't please everyone. And at the end of the day, they are a company. They're not a charity. They have to make business decisions. And some of those business decisions do make the game less of what some people dreamed it would be, whether that dream was the same as what Dean Hall envisaged when the first came out, or, you know, even Dean Hall's mod got modded and people changed what DayZ was. You know, you had all the different I'm having a mental blank at the moment, but all the Ulterior and all those other different mods, which made it more gamey with the big, you know, McMansions and all the rest of it. And everyone has their vision of what DayZ should be. But for the most part, I think it has. You know, they haven't done loot boxes. They haven't done crazy camos and that sort of stuff in the vanilla version of the game. You know, they've had a few hiccups along the way, but
the reason I bring it up, though,
for the most part, I think it's a great game.
And they've stayed true to themselves, and I think that's it's paying off for them, because they're being rewarded with it now with these peak numbers that we're seeing. But the most genius strategy of all, though, like I said, was open sourcing the code and allowing people to create what ultimately could be the next big thing, and then picking the best and most popular ones out and then making that vanilla. I mean, that's a strategy that can kind of find that balance. Like maybe you have the people who are super into this, or maybe you have the people who are into this, and then whatever's the most popular, you just bring it in, and you know, it becomes canon. It becomes the norm, so to speak. But and then if you keep doing that, then it always keeps things fresh. I don't know. I like it. I hope more companies do it, and I think probably they will, but we'll see.
Okay, I just had a look because I was just curious as well. ARMA Reforger is number 85 at the moment. So it looks like I'm looking
It's
for ARMA.
525. I want to see
ARMA
where
3. ARMA 3 is 121 on the chart with 8,289 people currently playing. So Reforger is getting more people playing it, and yeah,
what's wild is I
good to see.
remember like sitting. I remember telling my buddy like when the day one servers would get super queued up, and it's like, dude, this is no different than when we're younger, like trying to like get into the clubs. Now we're just older and we're sitting on our computers waiting to get into a server. And it was
do that, man. I can't queue for service, and I don't ask people to give me prior queue. And unless it's I'm really into a particular server, I won't pay for it. But if I see a queue, I'll just fuck that. I'll go play somewhere else.
But that's what I'm getting at, though. Is like when Reforger took off, I had like a solid year, almost a year, but I had like a really big opportunity to enjoy the game before all the hype happened. And then, like I said, I'm right there with you. I don't like to sit in queues. I'm older. I'd rather just go, hang out with my family or lay down or whatever. But
I've got 1 hour before I need to go change my daughter or take the missus out. Yeah. I'm not sitting in a queue for 45 minutes of that time.
Exactly. So I think that's kind of why like I've maybe taken a step back more and committed to making videos, because it allows me the freedom to. I don't have to sit and wait in the queue. And then, like I said, I could jump in for an hour and maybe have an epic adventure or a really cool experience that then you can take and make into a video. So, I think that's, I don't know. But if people aren't taking the opportunity to play the game in a different way, that's like going back to Smoke and all the other content creators that are showing, and because you don't know what you don't know. So now you're seeing these other ways to play the game, and I think it's snowballing right now. So we're going to keep seeing bigger numbers and more people being drawn to it because they're curious. They're like, what's going on over here? What's this community doing? And it makes it really easy to swap between like a team deathmatch or, just an open world adventure of some kind. So I can't talk enough good about it, man.
Yeah. It's I would love to get some of the people who've made the DayZ is Dead videos along the way and just, I did, to his credit, I did see what's his name, General Sam did a video where he basically said that, he was kind of wrong, but he out and out admits that he just does stuff for rage bait and all the rest of it. But DayZ's dead, DayZ is dying, the day DayZ died, all these amazing videos that have been released over the years, and they all fucking wrong, all of them.
Well, bad publicity.
Every single one of them. Yep. But the sad part is, though, mate, some of those people fueled, DayZ has cured cancer. Yeah, but you still fucking haven't fixed AI on zombies or whatever. Oh, God, fucking hell. It's not that easy, guys, and it's a complicated hyper beast of a fucking game with an engine that is spaghetti code, that they fix one thing, it breaks a dozen others. And, hopefully they are working on DayZ 2, and they can do it all again with this new wonderful engine, and we can see what they can give us in the future.
You were not lying, though, when you're talking about the struggles of server owning, modding. I just didn't want to listen. I had experienced it for myself. Yeah,
we all think we could work it out, but sometimes you just need to slow down and listen. I should have listened to my old mate Spud. He was like, boy, you don't want to run a server, mate. You don't. He's walked away from it all. He had one of the most successful servers here in Australia, DayZ Down Under, and he just said, I can't do it anymore, and gave it all off to one of the guys who worked with him, and server's still going good. But it's just too much, particularly when you get a successful server, and especially if you're not doing it for the money. It becomes a chore. It becomes a chore to be constantly having someone online in case the server shuts down and a mod breaks, or this guy he had a pretty fucking high level job in New Zealand, and he would literally have to take leave around patch updates. And back when they used to only give you a couple of days notice, it was very hard to make sure that he had someone on hand to sort out all the mods and try to work out which mod had broken and all the rest of it. that was one of the bad sides of Bohemia. They've kind of gotten better with it now, but as we saw with the concrete block, the inanimate object that broke the game for a bit there, it still has issues.
Yeah, I see the zombies in DayZ kind of taking on the what's the mod that makes them kick in doors and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yep.
I think that's what
that is a great mod.
But that's super immersive. You know what I mean? It almost seems like all the mods that are kind of becoming popular are the ones that are allowing you to kind of make, not necessarily role play, but have the ability to do such through more immersive content. Like I think on day one, don't you have the ability to like hand a can of beans by pressing O or something like that?
Don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't played it in ages. What were they saying? They had to call off the Reforger update, DX. I think, are you talking about DirectX there, Dorkling? Not that I really know what DirectX is, but I know it's a software that's heavily involved in the performance of games. So I'm guessing that's what the DX stands for. But, mate, is there anything else you want to talk about? Because we've been going for 2.5 hours now.
No, I think we've hit it all. I mean, I'm just excited now at this point to kind of watch things unfold. I'm at that stage of my life where I'm super fascinated by, I'm not like a people person, but I'm fascinated by people and their stories and, the stories that they're telling and sharing and even creating themselves. So,
what can we expect from you in the future, mate? With Zulu Hour.
Probably slow released, slow drip videos over the next, few years, but it's, I don't want to just like churn and burn videos out like that. For me, that just seems, because it's not about money. Like I'm not here to make money. I'm here to leave behind some memories. I'm here to make stuff that makes me happy. And kind of also lets me heal a little bit, because some of this stuff is just releasing emotional, baggage that I've held on to. So to kind of put it out there in the world and, just to also bring people together. Like the military community is 1%. They say 1% of people go on and serve their country voluntarily. So to be able to have that blanket or net, safety net for people to kind of fall back on, and then just sharing a message and kind of making the world a better place.
Make sure you watch that video I sent you. You're not in the forces now. I hope you bookmarked it to watch later. And send me a message afterwards of what your thoughts are on it. It's a video made by a psychologist who I believe did serve, and he was talking to a bunch of Vietnam veterans and their wives, and it was literally one of those there's always some moments in your life where something happens that makes you just reevaluate things, and that was my moment. That was when I realized that I was the one with the issues, that the issues aren't bad per se, but like a lot of people, when I got out of the military, I thought all civilians were useless cunts who were pathetic. And then this video made me realize that no, civilians aren't. They're just the average, normal, everyday person who's trying to just live their life and make sure they've got a roof over their house, over their head, and some food on the table for their families. And that I was changed by the military and by my experiences in the military, and therefore the issue is me per se. And I still find it hard. I said some mean words to someone quite recently that I'm not going to apologize for it, because I did mean what I said, but in retrospect, I probably shouldn't have said them. I basically told them that I look at you and I think that you're a pathetic piece of shit. And I wouldn't piss on you if you're on fire, because they were trying to tell me that I wasn't a man. It was quite heated. But
that was me.
I burnt up, and it was a fallback to my old days where I forgot that these people are just normal, everyday people. I'm different because I'm what my country and my defense force made me, and what they needed me to be. And unfortunately, they're great at turning us into these machines, but they can't undo what they've done.
No. So
it's always lying dormant, ready to explode.
Part of the canine world is, to train you for that job, they literally have to blow you up or kill you in as many ways as they can think of that the enemy would do it, right? So I've literally been, you can name it, I've been blown up in that way. So, part of me was like, okay, I didn't really think what I was going to do after that. And now that I'm here and I'm still alive, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do next? Like, it's a weird feeling. Like you talk about, realizing I'm somebody other than this. I was just talking to a neighbor down the street, and he was like, Oh, dude, I don't have any. I mean, I see you got stuff on the wall. I have stuff on the wall. I'm getting to the point now where I'm kind of looking at it and I'm feeling a little bit indifferent about it. Like that, yeah, that was me, but I feel like I'm a different me now, and I don't need to have all
No,
that stuff.
no, you do. You do. Like, look behind me, mate. I've got all my stuff up there. I've
Yeah,
got my old mortar flag and all the rest of it. It's all part of you, what makes you you. And that's why I've got such a variety of stuff up there. The one thing I
yeah.
don't have up there is my family, because I keep that private
Oh, me too.
as much as possible. I talk about them, but for the most part, I don't share photos of them or anything like that. You don't have to dig too deep to find that sort of stuff out about me. I'm not, psycho, conspiracy theorists. People are out to get me about it, but I just don't need to share that. Plus, my wife would kill me if I shared a photo that she hadn't pre-approved. So, yeah, but that's all part of you, mate, and it helps define you, and it's a great conversation starter as well. Don't ever
Yeah.
feel that you don't have to have that stuff up. I've got right there. That's our Putin babushka doll. I've got my flags. I've got a can of gun oil. The crazy leopard there because it reminds me of my old 3 Platoon logo. DayZ stuff. DayZ Unite flag, or sorry, beanie there. Just all
Can't
stuff
be.
that's. Yep. Yeah, I got my beans as well, and coffee mugs, and DayZ, for those who see me online, is something that they all think of when they think of me. The DayZ podcast and all the rest of it. But it all helped to shape you into the person that you are now, Mitch. And it's a great conversation starter and a great way for people who might be looking for someone of a similar mindset or with similar life experiences to find someone to watch. So I think having that all up there is great.
We all have our role to play, and that's when, like, again, DayZ is so great because we can have this exact same conversation in a survival aspect and just be fishing and bullshit and have a great time. I mean, there's you're chasing shots sometimes, but like to be able to sit down and do this is a pretty cool experience, especially in a video game.
And where are you living at the moment?
I'm on the East Coast, USA.
On the East Coast, and I'm all the way over here in Bris Vegas in Australia, mate. And we met each other through this game in our common shared background, both having served our countries.
That's crazy.
And now we've just chatted for 2.5 hours like we've known each other all our lives.
And you would never get that experience if you didn't, get out of your own personal bubble.
So for all those people who say video games are bad, go fuck yourselves. They're not. It's like everything in life, it can be bad. But for the most part, it's all about what you get out of it and what you're looking to get out of it. And you can make some great friends. And I've got more friends through gaming and the internet than I ever made in real life.
Well, a perspective change for me was applying some of like the theories that I take from video games to my to my actual life. Like now I kind of go to bed and I wake up and I'm like, okay, I just got to respawn. Let me, what can I do different today than I did yesterday? Well, how can I make, improve myself? And when you're younger, I mean, maybe when you might run into this earlier, but for me, I was too busy drinking, too busy, doing all kinds of shenanigans that I wasn't even thinking about that. So
young, dumb, and full cum.
Young, dumb, full cum. So I'm glad that I'm kind of experienced life a little bit, even if some of it's a little bit of baggy or baggage or whatever, but
it all helped define you, and it gives you some wisdom to help hopefully educate some of others who may be going through similar or about to do similar.
Because if you can say, if you can change even one person in a positive way, I mean that, chaos theory and the butterfly effect and all this stuff, like it matters over time. It might not matter to us. We might never even get to see the change, but you know what I mean? Like you're setting it and you're implementing it, you're planting that seed and, hopefully nurturing it, letting it grow into something cool.
Brother, I wish you all the best. Congratulations on parenthood and finally settling down. And I hope you get your power issues fixed. How's your battery holding up?
Got 49%. I'm only, the whole PC setup right now is pulling 321 watts. I got this little battery bank here that's got a display on it, so it tells me how much wattage I'm pulling. But it's supposed to be rainy tomorrow, and I think after tomorrow, maybe on Wednesday, it's supposed to be sunny again. So we should have the power on by then. But yeah, it's been an interesting survival period for the last four days.
And you're better prepared for it than most, mate.
Yes.
Mitch, thank you so much. Thank you for your service for your country, buddy. I envy you having been a dog handler. I reckon that would have been a dream job, but also probably even more stressful because you're responsible for that dog. But now you've got a new responsibility in your life, your daughter.
Have you real quick, have you played the or used the DayZ dog mod?
I can't because I did, and I lost my dog. and
It
I had to log off. It was
though.
so it was. I just can't. I love the idea, but it's pixels. Like even in Rust,
No, it's real. It's
they've
real.
got horses and chickens in the game, and I had 2 chicken pens on the roof of my base, and someone killed them. They weren't for killing; they were for eggs. I would go
See
up
that?
there every time I logged on. I would go up and I would feed them, and you have to pat each chicken, and they make
Yeah.
this little awesome little clucking and cooing noise back at you. And I gave them all individual names, and someone killed them all, and I'm like, "You monster! I know they're
Yeah.
only pixels, but why would you do that? That's just mean."
And
So
they
no, I don't like playing with animals, and particularly the animals that have got a name. I don't like killing them.
Yeah.
And they've got horses as well, and you have to feed them and look after them. And yeah, so
I got a
yeah,
clip somewhere to try to find, and I'm gonna put it in a video one day. But it's the first time we used the DayZ dog mod, and again, having been a dog handler, man, like I'm not crying on stream or anything or in the video, but like I'm laughing, but I'm that kind of dark humor, awkward laugh, like oh fuck, it's just like it's pixels, it's a digital recreation or whatever, but man, whew, so
hey, look, even Diesel's talking in chat there. Oh shit, not the chickens! You were so full of joy showing them. I was, mate. I was. It was. Yeah, and you go up to them and you pat them, and they kind of lower their head a little bit. And as you pat them, because you've got to make sure they're got good sunlight, good water, good food, and that they're happy. And you make them happy by patting them. And then I came back in, and they were all dead. And I'm like, you asshole! Why would you fucking? That's just mean. And this was
did
on a
Hunt
PvE server as well. It wasn't even a PvP server. I was like, oh, if I
was
find out who did that, I will destroy you. I have a particular set of skills.
was Hunter the one that came up with the all the animal mods on DayZ recently, like the last
Yeah,
year?
Hunters E's
Okay.
got a lot of them, dogs and cats and all the rest of it, and it's great. It adds a great thing to the game, but I just
Yeah.
can't do it with the dogs. And I made it was a golden retriever as well, and I was like, oh god, no, not my golden retrievers.
You made a mistake because we always do that. We recreate what's important to us, and then
Yeah,
we want to keep it protected and safe. And then when it doesn't happen, man,
I,
like
I should have made it a pit bull or something like that, a dog that I'm not fond of. But
you
yeah,
should have.
I
I made
didn't.
the shepherd too,
I
man. I
didn't.
made the shepherd, and we got swamped. And then no.
I've actually changed my desktop background. Share screen. I understand. Window. Entire screen.
You mind if I drop a link in here?
That's my dog done in Studio Ghibli. No, go for it, mate. You can post whatever you want. That's based off a photo my son took looking down at him, and the real photo of him is just as cute. But I thought the Studio Ghibli was awesome as well. I've got a mug with it on there. Golden Days, Golden Ways. I love golden retrievers, mate. He's just so beautiful.
You said that's a cartoon image of a real photo?
Yeah, Studio Ghibli.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, post a link, mate.
I think I did. Did I? I didn't actually. I don't know. I guess I don't know how to.
Just in the chat box on the side there, and down the bottom, write your message.
Oh, there we go. Or no, it's actually not letting me. I sent it
Send
to
it
you,
to
maybe.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, the one that I just sent you is the interaction with Smoke, and I think there's one of Sweet and Sour in there too. One of what I thought was one of his craziest moments watching. He watched somebody get mauled by a bear on the side of a mountain. It was just really cool to watch. But that's what kind of kept me going, man. Is the individual content creators that have kind of reshaped the game for me, and shown it to me in a different perspective, a different light, and been like, oh man, let me try that. That looks really cool. So,
mate, thank you so much.
Thank you.
My next interview is with someone who was in chat. Diesel will be next weekend. Yeah, I will edit this one up, and we will get that uploaded and released as a premiere in the lead up to my interview with Diesel.
Excellent. Many blessings to you and your wife, man. I'm glad you guys are both doing better.
Cheers, mate. All the best, everyone, and bye for now.
Hey, hey. Oh. Am I muted?